Chapter 45-45. The old woman shook her head guiltily. That's the strangest thing. Originally, they would send someone to secretly contact me every 3 days and tell me what to do next. But now, it's been more than 7 days, and they still haven't sent anyone to find me. Long Xinghua frowned and said worriedly, I'm worried that I might have been exposed. That's why they cut off contact with me. Arbor nodded slightly. Granny, don't take this to heart. If they're exposed, then so be it. It's best that they don't come looking for you. It saves us a lot of trouble. In the future, you and Xian will stay on this island for the time being and live well. But Granny Long's face was full of shame and guilt. But I can't help little benefactor. All these years, it's been little benefactor who has helped us time and time again. We've been powerless. Now even this small matter has been ruined by me. Xiaomu shook her head aloofly. There are many intelligent people in Heavenly Fate. Now they've probably realized that this method is not reliable. Actually, this method is very clumsy. Among Granny's group, the highest realm is only a 10th level God realm expert. That person alone can take me away from this island unknowingly? How is that possible? Long Xinghua nodded. Thinking about it, it's just that they're in the dark while we're in the light. If they think of other ways to deal with Little Miss, then it's really hard to guard against. Arbor turned around and looked at the distant stars. I'm not afraid of them coming. I'm just afraid that they won't dare to jump out and die. Long Xinghua saw that she was full of confidence and couldn't help but feel relieved. It's late. Little Miss has been very busy these days. Now that the team has finally settled down, you should go and rest early. Okay. Arbor raised her white wrist and subconsciously tugged at the velvet cloak on her body. After taking 2 steps, she turned back and said softly, Don't be afraid, we're here for you. Granny Long pursed her lips and looked at the little girl with long hair under the moonlight. At that moment, she seemed to see the little girl's eyes filled with bright stars, so bright that it almost burned the entire night. Long Xinghua nodded emotionally. Her voice was slightly choked with emotion. Okay, Granny will live well, and watch how our Mrs. Daughter leads everyone to break through these layers of barriers. It was still bright and resplendent, full of prosperity. 2 days later, the training of the 30,000 elite disciples was already on track. Xiaomu planned to sit down hand in hand with her Lian to have a good chat about the matter of his unstable cultivation realm. The little stoic expressionlessly stared at the damned talisman in her hand, somewhat hesitant in her heart. Her husband wasn't willing to work hard on his cultivation, and was always lovey-dovey with her. If she didn't use some powerful methods on him, would he be obedient? However, if she used this rapid cultivation talisman, her husband's mind would be filled with cultivation in the future. What would he do without Lord Jojo? Did her husband forget about Jojo? No way, Jojo, why are you sitting here in a daze? Emo Lien found his wife on the boulder at the entrance of Ping Valley, and scooted over with a grin. Wifey, Long Huan has brought people over. Should we meet him? What did he come here for? Arbor secretly stuffed the rapid cultivation talisman back into her sleeve. Chapter 45-46. Arbor expressionlessly hopped down from the rock and glanced sideways at her husband. Hubby, why do you keep looking at me like this? Jojo, hubby had a strange feeling of being targeted just now. Emo Lien blinked innocently. You aren't thinking of doing something to hubby, right? Arbor! Exclamation point. This guy's intuition was too sharp. What kind of structure was this guy exactly? He didn't feel like a human. Jojo, do it. No matter what you do to hubby, hubby won't even frown. This guy pounced on her and hugged her, beaming with joy. You flatter yourself. Who would target you? The little stoic strode past him, and swiftly transferred the speed cultivation talisman under her sleeve into her inner world. It was better to consider this matter at length. This was her dearest husband. If hubby wasn't willing to speed cultivate, she couldn't be like that swindler De Yuan and slap a talisman on him and force him to cultivate, right? Speaking of which, it was really worrisome. Hubby was too clingy, and she didn't know what to do. Sigh, the little fellow curled her lips and left him with the back of her head. Emo Lien found it inexplicably funny and immediately floated to her side. Jojo, are you feeling guilty? Who's feeling guilty? If you're not feeling guilty, why don't you dare to look at hubby? Haha. Arbor quickly lifted his head and cast her a glance before swiftly retracting his gaze. He humphed. Stop making so much noise and hurry up. Did Long Huan come alone? What did he come here for? Emolian blinked and swiftly caught up to her. He held her small hand. Long Huan came to deliver a gift. The little fellow thought. How could this person be so kind-hearted? Logically speaking, she had already broken off relations with the Wangchuan dragon clan. So Long Huan truly shouldn't have come here to avoid arousing suspicion. Using teleportation rune arrays, the two of them were teleported from Ping Valley to the snowy island where they had been staying before. The moment they stepped on the island, they heard the clanging sounds of fighting and shouting. Both of them were scammers. After looking at each other, their figures flashed and they hid to the side. At the same time, they stuck out their heads and secretly observed who was fighting. He saw Long Shi leading Long Shangyun and the others to fight against a bunch of corpses that were crawling all over the place. Arbor was stunned and asked Emolian in a low voice, "What has the old man been doing on the island these days?" Since Mi Guang had been refining weapons every day, he didn't have the time to dig out all the corpses of the deep fire heart-devouring worms. Emolian whispered into her ear. Over the past 2 days, most of the soldiers from the 3 prefectures have been training with these corpses as their targets. Arbor replied with an "oh." After settling everyone down, he returned to being a hands-off boss as usual. Each team has 100 people. Emolian looked down at him and said, "There are a total of 300 teams in the Kill the Heavenly Fate battle group. Their first mission is to gather all the corpses possessed by the deep fire heart-devouring worms on the deserted island." Arbor's eyes brightened. She looked at the large group of corpses on the beach without any change in expression. There are probably more than 200 corpses here. Emolian nodded. The Kill the Heavenly Fate battle group dug up all the corpses that could be found. These deep fire heart-devouring worms would avoid living people when they see them. They are only interested in corpses. These things aren't very useful. The corpses they control are far inferior to real corpse puppets in terms of agility and toughness. Chapter 45-47. The two of them stealthily hid on the side and observed the scene of Long Huan leading his men to kill the corpses. When the battle was nearing its end, the two of them looked at each other and walked out hand in hand, pretending to casually sweep their eyes over the area. Isn't this young Master Long? You've come from afar. Excuse me for not going out to meet you," Emolian said with a smile. Arbor's small face was taut, and she didn't say anything. Her large eyes looked around as if they were flying. She glanced at Long Shangyun, who was drenched in sweat, and abruptly shifted her gaze away. Long Huan turned his head and saw this troublemaker couple standing not far from the beach and looking at them. The two of them were dressed in plain white and stood side by side hand in hand. Their beauty was truly unparalleled, but their troublemaking character was too troublesome. These two people had actually been standing on the side watching the show for a long time. So how could Long Huan not know? However, even if he knew, he could only laugh bitterly. What else could he say? The little stoic's attitude was already pretty good that she didn't roar scram at the siblings when she saw them. All right? Why the heck did Long Huan and Long Shangyun actually think that the little stoic's attitude towards them today was acceptable? Thinking back, they had been brutally abused by the stoic face many times, so they were already used to the other party's necessary attributes for tricking people. Long Huan turned around to kill a mutated corpse and cupped his hands at the two in the midst of his haste. He said with a wry smile, "Please don't make fun of this older brother. Younger cousin-in-law. We came here to discuss something with the two of you. Please have them stop first." The little stoic. "You think these corpses are our handiwork? We're not a corpse-nurturing ground like Tianyin." This older brother misspoke. Long Huan reacted extremely quickly and hastily changed his excuse. "Please help me take care of these guys first, alright?" Haha. Long Shangyun. After not seeing this little stoic for so many days, her temperament became even more unpredictable. Scattered light. A flying spirit tool in the shape of a flying pigeon suddenly shot out from behind and stopped on the beach with a whoosh. Second Sect Master. What do you think of my air transportation spiritual artifact? Senior Fine Light opened the spirit tool cabin and jumped out with a smile on his face. This air transportation spirit tool can carry 3,000 people at most. With its flying speed, it would be easy for it to travel 10,000 li in a day. How? The space is big and spacious enough. It's fast enough, isn't it? Haha. And it's SOSO. It's still a little lacking compared to my husband's skills. Build several dozen more and leave them with me as backup, the little stoic said. The old man was so angry that his beard blew and his eyes widened. This guy wanted him to work, but he couldn't say anything nice. Since the people of the underworld region are willing to pay for the materials, you should make more things. Look at you. You're already so old, but your craftsmanship isn't even half as good as your husband's. Now I'm letting you train. Don't always bother your husband with these things. He's very tired. Bah. Your father is tired. That lad looked like he had nothing to do all day long. He would walk back and forth behind his wife, talking about what his wife would eat today and what she would eat tomorrow. The two of them would talk about this meaningless topic all day long. Busy my ass talking nonsense all day long. Arbor was expressionless. He glanced at the old man and said in deadly earnest, "All right, we've greeted them. Take these things back." Alrighty. Scattered Light took out a space container from his pocket and threw it into the empty space in the middle. Long Shangyun and the others hastily retreated. Chapter 45-48. 50300 Weirdo Hospitality. The space container that looked like a bowl expanded in the wind and turned into a small mound. A small door that could allow one person to pass through opened in the middle. An extremely pleasant fragrance floated out from within. Long Qian, Long Shangyun, and the others were on guard as they quickly covered their mouths and noses, blocking their five senses in horror. They were afraid that the fragrance was some kind of poisonous gas. If they accidentally breathed in a little, they would be even more unlucky. When Arbor saw them like this, she did not have any other expression. She only glanced at them indifferently. The group of corpses that had been searching frantically suddenly stopped and obediently crawled in one after another, following the scent. When the last corpse entered, Hao Guang kept the space container with a smile and weighed it in his hand. Second Sect Master, do you want this little thing? No. Arbor took a step back in disgust. It was so ugly that it made her feel disgusted. She was not sick. Why would she want a pile of corpses by her side? Hao Guang touched his nose. Seeing the little girl's disdain for him, he could not help but feel a little frustrated. Second Sect Master, then I'll go back first. Arbor nodded. She did not want to keep this guy. When Hao Guang left with the lid bowl, Long Shangyun jumped up and said angrily, "Great. And you said you didn't do it on purpose. You knew that we came here to look for you, but you still let the corpses bite us. Speaking of which, where did these corpses come from? You're also raising corpses." Before Long Shangyun could finish her sentence, Long Huan tugged on her arm forcefully. She staggered and glared at her brother in dissatisfaction. "Big brother, what are you doing? I said something wrong. Cousin naturally would not raise any corpses." Long Qian threw Long Shangyun a look that said, "Do you want to die?" The latter sneaked a glance at Arbor. She saw that her little face was tense as she looked at her expressionlessly. Long Shangyun stopped yelling and pretended to cough. "Come to think of it, you would not go and get these disgusting corpses. You're right to reject them. Keeping corpses won't do you any good." It was hard to imagine how shocking it would be for such a jade-like little stoic to become a zombie keeper. Long Shangyun hurriedly shook her head to get rid of the ominous image in her mind. "Are you done being long-winded?" Xiaomu raised her voice and hollered at Long Shangyun as usual. The latter was stunned. An indescribable feeling rose in his heart. What's going on? It's been a long time since I've heard the little fellow's roar. Now that I hear it, I actually feel a little nostalgic. What kind of mentality was she in? He was frequently abused by the little stoic, but after being separated for a period of time, he was actually thinking about her. Arbor turned to look at Long Hua. "Speak your mind." Long Huan couldn't help but smile wryly. He looked at his exhausted clansmen behind him, then looked at the little stoic who didn't look worried, and said weakly, Can you invite us in to sit? As soon as he finished speaking, the siblings discovered that a pair of peerlessly beautiful beauties in front of them were looking at them like they were idiots. Long Huan's mouth twitched. Just as he was about to say something, he heard the little stoic grumpily say, "This isn't a mountain resort or a resort. Where would there be a place to sit? You'll be able to see it with a glance. Other than a deserted island, there are snow pits and also a karst cave. Where do you want to sit?" Chapter 45-49. Long Huan wanted to cry and said meekly, "Then can we move somewhere else first?" This place was filled with the stench of corpses. It was really smelly. Also, many of them hadn't even gone to the beach and were still soaking in the sea. What kind of bizarre hospitality was this? Did these two people have any awareness of hospitality at all? If they dissected this couple, their hearts would probably be as black as ink. Long Huan's heart ached a bit for himself. Arbor glanced at him faintly before turning to lead her husband away. "You talk too much. Come here." Long Shengyun! Exclamation point. In reality, they hadn't said much since they got onto the island. They had been resisting those crazily crawling corpses the entire time. The little stoic allowed that old man to purposely throw these things out to scare them. This showed that she didn't want to see them at all. Long Shengyun and her brother met each other's eyes. "Brother, why do you think she changed her mind again?" Long Huan sighed. "Who knows? This little stoic's mood swings were really too fast, and her mood swings were too quick." Long Huan tugged on his sister's sleeve and said cautiously, "Don't speak first. Let me do the talking." Long Shengyun pursed her lips. Did he think she really wanted to talk to the stoic face? Inside the passenger cabin, Mu Rochuan respectfully sat at the end of the row, as if she was completely out of tune with the hustle and bustle before her. A group of elegant and gorgeous dancers was dancing to the soft music of stringed and woodwind instruments. Pink fans twirled up and down, accompanied by emerald sleeves. With raised eyebrows and a wave of sleeves, they were like a row of kingfishers weaving through flowers and twirling trees. Mu Qingya had a smile on her face as she glanced from time to time at Gong Songfeng, who was sitting in front of the short table across from her. "Hall Master Gong, are the dishes and wine not to your liking? People from the wilderness aren't so particular," Gong Songfeng said dryly without any fluctuation in his expression. Mu Qingya smiled and didn't take this person's arrogance to heart. Hall Master Gong is too modest. How could someone as magnificent as Hall Master come from the wilderness? Mu Qingya said with a smile as she sipped her wine. Gong Songfeng didn't say anything, and he didn't seem to be interested in the song and dance in front of him. Mu Qingya saw that he had closed his eyes and was pretending to be asleep. She couldn't help but feel annoyed inwardly, but she still revealed a faint smile on her face. This time, Mai Xian went to the Forgotten River Dragon Clan's territory and received the old clan head's hospitality. Old Patriarch's attitude surprised me greatly. From the looks of it, Hall Master Gong is truly far-sighted. He actually knew that the old Patriarch of the Forgotten River Dragon Clan had no intention of going against us. Hong Yi winked seductively and said with a smile, "Hall Master Mu, you must be joking. What does that old man have against us? The Forgotten River Dragon Clan is hiding at the bottom of the sea. What ability do they have to oppose us now?" Mu Qingya smiled faintly. Although they didn't object to our cooperation, they didn't explicitly agree to it. She'll agree very soon. Gong Songfeng suddenly opened his eyes and said coldly. Mu Qingya's eyes flashed faintly, and she said with a smile, seemingly intentional or otherwise, "In the beginning, the organization didn't say that they wanted to occupy the Dragon Clan's territory as their base. Master suddenly changed his mind. Could it be because of Arbor?" Gong Songfeng looked at her with a half-smile. "What are you trying to guess?" Mu Qingya covered her mouth and chuckled. "The underground hall's relationship with our Jojo is too good." Chapter 45-50. Oh my heavens! That coquettishly handsome man in red abruptly jumped up and repeatedly rubbed his arm as he exclaimed, "Madam Mu, this form of address is still your Jojo? I can't take it anymore. I'm getting goosebumps. Heavens, oh heavens. I'm certain that if the little stoic were here right now and heard you call her that, she would definitely slap your face several times." Mu Qingya's smile froze on her face. Orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple all lowered their heads and silently chuckled. Although red wasn't very reliable, his words were quite accurate. Mu Qingya's expression was very unsightly. However, she was someone who was used to putting on airs, so her expression eased up before long, and she said with an awkward smile, "Red really knows how to joke." "Who's joking with you?" Red paused in his rubbing arm and turned to stare unblinkingly at Mu Qingya. He said faintly, "Why don't you give it a try the next time you see her? I reckon she won't just hit you. She'll even kill you." Everyone. Very likely. Super insightful. Mu Qingya found it hard to maintain her awkward smile. "Are you all changing the topic?" Mu Qingya withdrew her smile and said seriously, "Hall Master Gong, I'm doing this for everyone's sake. No matter what kind of relationship you had with her in the past, just like I did. Wasn't I her stepmother back then? Let's see how she dealt with me afterward. After our identities were exposed, it was impossible for us to get along well with her." The beauty in green couldn't help but roll her eyes. "You speak as if you've gotten along well with her before." Gong Songfeng sneered at Mu Qingya. "Hall Master Mu, you don't need to meddle in our underground hall's affairs. As for you, I really want to ask, before you made a move to capture someone, did you ask for the opinion of the master behind you?" That person also agreed. Mu Qingya's expression became increasingly unsightly as Gong Songfeng interrogated her step by step. "Although our halls don't usually get along well, for the sake of Ancestor He, I still have to give you some advice. I still have to give you some pointers. No matter how deep your personal grudges are, you have to consider the big picture." Mu Qingya's expression changed again and again. She couldn't help but sneer. "No matter how much I abuse my power for personal gain, it's never been as obvious as what you've done. You guys came up with an excuse to secretly avenge her. This can't be considered an honorable method, right? Don't think that she didn't know that the underground hall clearly didn't have any intention of making a move against the Forgotten River Dragon clan. Wasn't it all because that stoic face had been wronged in the Forget River clan's territory?" Gong Songfeng smiled coldly. "You'd better not guess Master's intentions." Mu Qingya was indignant on the inside, so she couldn't help but say sourly, "Although your master is affectionate and righteous, the little stoic's brain is wired differently from yours, so she might not necessarily appreciate it." Madam Mu, what are you saying? You're absolutely right." Hong Yi suddenly interjected with a smile. Everyone looked at him speechlessly. "But there's nothing we can do. We must obey Master's orders." "Oh, that's right. Tomorrow, have Miss Rochuan go to the Forget River clan's territory to ask what that old hag from the Dragon clan wants. It's up to you whether you agree or not. If it doesn't work, then let's just fight our way over. Let's not waste time." Mu Qingya suppressed the anger in her heart and snorted. Chapter 45-51. On the other side, Arbor's eyes shone brightly as she looked at the spirit coin card being handed to her. Her large eyes suddenly turned, and her gaze landed on the Long siblings. Long Shangyun. She wasn't sure if it was her misconception, but she suddenly felt that the little stoic's gaze seemed to have become gentler. Damn! Her originally cold little face warmed up slightly, as if a glacier had melted. "Serve the tea." Emolien, who was sitting next to her, couldn't help but twitch her mouth. The group was currently sitting around the bonfire in the snow pit. After the little fellow shouted, Feng Chongqing stifled his laughter and very resignedly took 2 clean teacups and handed them to the Long siblings. "Did you see that?" Everyone exchanged glances, and their eyes kept twitching. The difference between paying a tribute and not paying a tribute was quite big. Long Qian coughed lightly and took the teacup after thanking her. After catching his breath, he said, "Cousin, here's the 70 million fairy fare I owe you." As Long Qian spoke, he very consciously took out a small bag and handed it over. "There's also this 20 spirit stones for the transportation fee." Everyone's mouths twitched. On the side, Long Shangyun wished she could cover her face. She simply couldn't bear to watch. Her elder brother's current cowardly appearance was really too much of a lackey. Arbor inwardly mused. So the Long siblings came to give her money. In the beginning, She didn't know and thought that the siblings had come to the island to spy on military intelligence. That was why the young couple didn't say anything when the old man released the corpses to torment them, and just watched the show. If they had said earlier that they were here to give her money, Sir Jojo wouldn't have tormented them. Long Shangyun suddenly discovered that the little stoic in front of her had gentle and kind eyes when she looked at the siblings, as if a holy light was shining upon them. It's not bad that you can have this kind of awareness. The little stoic nodded with a comforted expression. Mu Xingchen almost choked on his tea, and instantly attracted countless accusing gazes, especially his brother-in-law, who was staring at him like he was an idiot. His gaze was clearly saying, "Brother-in-law, are you an idiot? Can't you see that no one is drinking water right now? Tell me, other than sending money, what else do you want?" Arbor quietly put away the spirit coin card and the spirit stones and asked. Long Huan's expression gradually became serious. "Cousin, Tianyun sent someone over the day before yesterday to talk to grandmother about cooperation." Everyone was stunned. Mu Xingchen's expression darkened. "They've set their sights on the Forgotten River clan's land? Do you want to develop the River of Forgetfulness into the Heavenly Fate base?" Long Shangyun couldn't help but say angrily, "They dare." Long Qi took a deep breath and exhaled. "I think they have that intention." The little stoic glanced at them. Elderly lady agreed? Was she not even willing to call her grandmother now? Long Shangyun's heart was filled with mixed feelings. Her thoughts were in a mess, and she didn't know what she was regretting. "No, grandmother didn't agree." "She will agree," Arbor said coldly. "For the entire Forgotten River she will compromise." Long Huan's eyes instantly turned round, and he felt his heart thumping in his chest. It was a complete mess. Why? Why did little cousin say the exact same thing as father? "That's why father told us to come find you. We must think of a way to stop this," Long Huan said hastily. Everyone is well aware of what kind of existence Tianyin is. Chapter 4552. Forget River can't mix with Tianyin's people. Otherwise, they would definitely be dragged down by Tianyin and become the target of public criticism. With the current Dragon Clan of Forget River's remaining strength, it would be very difficult for them to deal with Tianyin alone, not to mention that they might have to face the enormous power of the entire 3 provinces in the future. How could that be possible? Long Qi stared at Arbor sincerely. "Cousin, let's temporarily set aside the family matters that are troubling you. The urgent matter at hand is to jointly deal with Tianyin, who is closing in on us step by step." Arbor glanced at him, but didn't say anything. Long Qi continued. "Family matters are family matters and state matters are state matters. Cousin definitely knows which is more important. I know that the Dragon Clan members offended Cousin when we were at Forget River Clan's land, but I never bicker with brainless people." Arbor's icy voice inexplicably choked Long Qi, and he instantly felt speechless. "Then Cousin's meaning is?" Long Qi asked meekly. Long Shangyun simply couldn't stand her elder brother's stupidity and kicked him lightly in exasperation before continuing. "Hey, facial paralysis." Seeing everyone's gazes converge on her, Long Shangyun coughed lightly and corrected herself in time. "Hey cousin, you're right. Let's not take the past to heart. The most important thing right now is to work together to deal with." The little stoic glanced at her and suddenly waved her hand. Long Shangyun silently shut her mouth, and then felt that her conditioned reflex was a bit strange. What the hell was wrong with her? What the hell? Why was she used to acting according to the little stoic's mood now? "How many people do you plan to send? When we invited you here, we agreed that we would provide half of the venue and resources. But after falling out with Cousin, the little stoic and the others didn't contact the Dragon Clan again. As for the venue, it was his expressionless cousin who found it by herself. The resources were probably prepared by them too, although this deserted island was near the snowy mountains and wasn't far from their Forget River Clan's land. But they couldn't forcefully say that they provided the venue. So Long Qi glanced at the little stoic extremely awkwardly. "Just tell me how many people you can provide at the moment." Seeing this guy hesitate, Arbor was a little impatient. "Why are you so naggy? Why are you so tired of me? If you're a man, you should be straightforward. Why do you have so much nonsense to say? Long Huan coughed and answered honestly, 3,000. After saying that, he couldn't help but feel a little guilty and timid. He secretly glanced at Emolien and Arbor. There aren't many people, but we can provide more cultivation resources. If they're all like the cripples I saw in your clan's land the other day, I think we should just forget about it. They were quite good at gossiping. Whenever they encountered trouble, their faces would turn pale, and they wished they could just drill into the ground. He was so useless that he couldn't be any more useless. A person like that couldn't be nurtured no matter what. It was better not to waste resources and effort. Long Huan hurriedly shook his head and said, although there aren't many of these mermen, they are all my elite soldiers. During their training, my father, your uncle, gave them strict instructions. Don't worry, their personal qualities are definitely not inferior to the elites of the 3 prefectures. Arbor stared at him for a full minute. That gaze made Long Ji and Long Xiangyun's hearts beat like a drum. Co-cousin, you're representing yourself in killing the Heavenly Fate battle team. No, it's the entire Forget River. Chapter 45-53. Are you sure you can make this decision? It was not that Arbor was underestimating the Long siblings. In reality, the power of the clan was still in the old matriarch's hands. If she did not give up power, the Long siblings would not be able to touch the core of the dragon clan. Long Hua closed his eyes. When he opened them, he took a deep breath. I will bring the 3,000 mermen here as soon as possible. When the time comes, I hope cousin will train them strictly. Do not be soft. Arbor said expressionlessly. If they join in killing Tianyin, they are our brothers. Of course, we will treat them all equally. It's a deal. Long Qian stood and bowed. As your elder brother, I'll thank cousin first. Thank you for your efforts. Xiao, who had left the work to others, indicated that she did not need to spend much effort. She had made a seal formation in the area, and usually walked around the island. It was not troublesome for her to eat and drink, but it was better not to say such direct words. It was annoying. Long Hua turned and bowed to the others. Then he said, I will go back and prepare. When the time comes, I will organize a batch of resources for cousin. Arbor nodded. Long Shangyun also stood up. She looked at Long Shi as if she wanted to say something. Shangyun, you can stay on this island for now. Brother. Long Shangyun had a worried expression. Long Hua still had to return to the clan, gather his personal guards, and bring them to this deserted island. Such a large movement would probably attract the attention of the patriarch. Maybe their so-called secret visit had already attracted the attention of the old patriarch. When I go back, I want to try my best to persuade grandmother. If grandmother could be like cousin and put down those small family matters, and gather forces to fight Tianyin together, maybe. Arbor glanced at him, shook his head and said, it is useless. Old matriarch has been stubborn her entire life. She will not listen to your persuasion. Let me give you a word of advice. When you go back, do not make a big fuss. Just gather your personal guards in secret. When everyone is gathered, leave immediately and do not stay. Long Huan stared blankly at Xiao Mu for a moment before saying with a bitter laugh, cousin's words and father's words almost completely coincide. Allow me to say something unpleasant. Xiao Mu remarked coldly, the dragon clan of forgetfulness has been hiding in a crappy corner for far, far too long. From the inside out, it's been eaten and rotted. Most of your clansmen have lost their will to fight. They have completely lost their courage. As Xiao Mu enunciated each word, Long Huan's complexion turned paler and paler. They just want to be content with their own territory. Perhaps your grandmother will feel that the conditions proposed by Tianyin are very good. They're already used to compromising. Just like back then, they were beaten so badly by a tiny branch of the dragon clan that they couldn't even raise their heads. Long Yun bit his lips, his pale face devoid of blood. Perhaps, in the beginning, your clan leader would have told you with glib words and twisted logic. It's precisely because you lost the 10,000-year mermaid pearl that your entire clan's overall strength has weakened to this extent. She will tell you, the direct descendants of the dragon clan, how powerful your ancestors were after being baptized by the mermaid pearl. But now, as time passes, The advantage of the mermaid pearl's baptism is weakening with each generation. You need the 10,000-year mermaid pearl urgently, and seek this power for free. Chapter 45-54. Long Shangyun looked at Arbor in shock, her mouth agape as she bit her lower lip. Do you want to ask me how I found out? Arbor swept an indifferent glance over the duo. If you don't want others to know, don't do it in the first place. There is no such thing as an impermeable wall in this world. Long Shangyun stood by the seaside for a long time without looking back as she watched her brother leave with his men. In the end, she still stayed behind because of her brother's words. This trip will be extremely difficult and dangerous. The road ahead is boundless, and I don't know what the outcome will be. If you stay by my side, you will definitely distract me. Long Shangyun took a deep breath and clenched her fists slightly. Brother, you must return safely. Duan Yu's section break, come back the next day. Arbor pondered over it and took out that damn talisman from his inner world. He carefully examined it again and again. When Arbor recalled the conversation he had with his husband before going to bed yesterday, he felt his balls ache endlessly. Hubby, I heard that your cultivation realm is very unstable. Is that true? A certain person asked cautiously. Who did you hear that from? The crown prince nearly jumped up from the bed. That's utter nonsense without any basis. Don't listen to the nonsense of those people with ulterior motives. Arbor, didn't that Transcendence Realm Formation Master Mao Yang say it himself that day? Many people present heard it, including this Chiao. Hubby, how about you go to Fish Orchid Planet to find a deserted island and enter seclusion to cultivate for a while? Arbor suggested in a small voice. Who would have thought that the guy would immediately press down on her and hug her tightly, making a fuss out of it? What? Wife, you don't want your husband anymore. You actually want me to enter seclusion to cultivate? If I enter seclusion, will I still be able to see my wife? Don't. But you can't do it like this. The little stoic was instantly a bit anxious. Judging from hubby's appearance, he really didn't have any intention of entering seclusion. Logically speaking, the current situation could be considered stable, and the killing of the Heavenly Fate battle group should be methodically training on the island. There were many things that could be left to Crown Prince Rong and Ming Yasi. He didn't need to be there every day to keep an eye on them. If her husband said that he wanted to cultivate in seclusion, no one would stop him. This was something that everyone could understand. However, this fellow was unwilling to do so. Hubby, don't worry, the little stoic advised good-naturedly. Although it might take 2 years for you to stabilize your realm, it's still not enough. However, don't forget that time flows 12 times faster on the Fish Orchid Planet. In this case, he would be in seclusion for about 2 months. It's very short, right? Who would have thought that her own husband would suddenly have an aggrieved expression on his face, as if the sky was about to collapse? He exclaimed, Jojo, you don't love your husband anymore. You're chasing me away. You want me to go into seclusion for 2 months. Isn't 2 months too long? How many things can your husband do with you in 2 months? I can accompany you through mountains, rivers, lakes and seas and see all the sights in the world. Arbor couldn't help but press his small head and look down at the cultivation talisman in his hand again. Fuck. That swindler's clamoring noises by her ear yesterday were like demonic noises, bouncing up and down in her mind, unable to fade away. This couldn't go on. As her husband's wife, she had to do things that were good for him. She had to take advantage of the rare time. She had to let him enter the star domain to stabilize his realm. Chapter 45-55. Jojo. Rongqing ran over and waved at her from afar. The ship, it's here. Xiaomu jumped up with a kick of her legs and asked curiously, Long Huan brought people over so quickly? This was truly beyond her expectations. Long Qian actually didn't make things difficult for him. As expected, he was her biological grandson and treated him differently. No. Rong chuckled and waved his hand. It's His Majesty. His Majesty is here. Arbor was taken aback, and then her eyes lit up. Duan Yu is here? Where is he? Quickly bring me there. I say, he's really dawdling. He's been drifting on the sea for so long, and only found this place now. Don't tell me he got lost. Arbor grumbled. She had only taken a few steps when she saw a pair of tall and slender men walking over from the stone wall. One was wearing plain clothes, and the other was wearing an ink-colored robe. The sleeves of their clothes fluttered in the wind. Both of them were handsome, elegant, and magnificent. Both of them had outstanding appearances. The little stoic was baffled and dazed for a moment. An indignant little person suddenly jumped out of her heart with a whoosh. Holding a peachwood talisman, she knocked on the two people's heads and chased after them. I'll let you go out as a pair. I'll let you be peerless in your generation. I'll let you flirt with me every day and make me feel ashamed of my inferiority. I'll beat you guys to death. Rong, who was standing next to the stoic face, inexplicably felt a chill pass by him and rubbed his arms in bewilderment. It was a bit strange. Why did the atmosphere suddenly turn cold? Jojo. Duan Yu's eyes lit up, and he flew in front of her in a flash. His handsome face with a brilliant smile swayed back and forth in front of her. Jojo, did you miss me? It's fine if you don't miss me. I missed you a lot. This guy continued to talk to himself. Have you been busy on the island recently? Why are you in a daze and not saying anything? Emolien also arrived and glanced at him with a chuckle. Can't you tell that Jojo doesn't want to talk to you? Impossible. Jojo definitely wouldn't be so heartless. Jojo. Duan Yu rolled his eyes at Emolien. When he turned his head, he noticed that the little stoic's gaze followed the two of them back and forth with an odd expression on her face. Jojo, why aren't you saying anything? Are you too happy to see the real person? Duan Yu asked with a grin, his gaze suddenly landing on her hand. What's this? Jojo, you're so nice. Is this the storage talisman you're giving me? Seeing that she didn't react, he took the talisman from her hands. He was so fast that Arbor didn't even have time to react. In the blink of an eye, the talisman was in the man's hand. Hey, wait! Arbor came back to his senses and quickly reached out to stop him. Duan Yu blinked aggrievedly and huffed. Oh, so it's not for me. Then it's for him. He slapped the talisman onto Emolien's chest with a flip of his hand. His hand was so fast that she couldn't refuse him in time at that moment. The second weight of Arbor's weight had just escaped from his mouth. He then weakly quieted down, his eyes bulging as he looked at the comical scene before him. Heavens, the ignorant were the most fearless. Duan Yu, this guy was seriously cheating. Emolien looked down and saw that the talisman had turned into a streak of light, and talisman energy rapidly seeped into his body, unable to reverse the situation. Xiao Mu massaged her forehead. Chapter 45-56. This guy looked down at his own palm in confusion, then glanced at the expressionless Emolien. What's going on? Why did he feel like there was something wrong with that talisman? This guy didn't know what kind of troublesome thing he had done as soon as he arrived. He looked innocently at Arbor and saw that the little guy's expression was a bit indescribable. Jojo, what talisman is that? He had swiftly slapped the talisman onto Emolien's body just now, but that guy didn't seem to have any reaction at all. Arbor wanted to say something but hesitated. His eyes were filled with complicated and indescribable emotions. He glanced at Duan Yu before swiftly bouncing toward Emolien. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Husband would definitely be angered to death when he woke up. Husband would definitely fight it out with Duan Yu. If these two fought, it was unknown who would win. There was an 80% chance that both sides would be injured, and they might even perish together. When the little stoic thought of this, she blinked and repeatedly brushed aside this frightening thought in her mind. To protect my husband, I must quickly transfer husband to Fish Orchid Planet and isolate him from the rest of the world. He can't run around as he pleases and use that devastatingly handsome face to wantonly bring disaster to others. The rapid cultivation talisman ignored cultivation realm and had a 100% chance of being hit after activating it. Within 15 days he would lose his sight, hearing, smell, taste and touch. He would lose all emotions including joy, anger, worry, thinking, sorrow, fear, and alarm. He would transform into a cultivation machine and only know how to cultivate with all his might. Poor husband, how could he be tricked by Duan Yu? Arbor reflexively reached out to pinch his husband's icy handsome face and hastily flashed into the star domain with him. Husband, don't be scared. The little stoic pacified the man. This rapid cultivation talisman isn't harmful to the body. You'll be like an idiot for the next 15 days. You won't be able to see or hear anything. You won't be able to do anything except cultivate. This way, this guy's cultivation realm would definitely be properly stabilized. She raised her hand to touch his face, a bit puzzled by his reaction. Her husband looked too much like a block of wood right now. 15 days isn't long, but it isn't short either. This rapid cultivation talisman will allow you to fully immerse yourself in your cultivation. The effect is pretty good. The 15 days mentioned here was the actual time in the outside world. This meant that if JoJo left her husband alone on the fish orchid planet to cultivate, after 12 times the flow of time her husband would probably be able to spend half a year peacefully on the small island of fish orchid planet. Although compared to the 2 years he needed to completely stabilize his realm, this half a year was really nothing. But at the very least it was better than nothing. Let's take it step by step. Seeing Arbor dragging Emolien back to the star domain, Duanyu naturally followed in a hurry. He finally realized that there was something unusual about the Prince Emo in front of him. What happened to him? Duanyu curiously stared at a certain someone who was standing upright and unmoving in front of him, and poked his shoulder. Hey Jojo, what's up with this guy? From just now until now it has been stuck here like a piece of wood. To be honest, Arbor also found it very strange. She only knew that after being hit by the rapid cultivation talisman, a portion of her memory should be missing. She didn't know if her husband had also entered a memoryless state right now. Once he woke up, he would probably forget everything that had happened. She also didn't know how she would react after being hit by the talisman. In any case, in her opinion, her husband's situation was quite strange. Chapter 45-57. Why didn't he have any reaction at all? Logically speaking, after being hit by this kind of rapid cultivation curse, his mind should be filled with the goal of cultivation and automatically activate his instinct to explore the divine realm. He should run to wherever divine and holy power were rich. Why was it that he was still in a daze, even after half an hour had passed since he was hit? Jojo. Duanyu called her softly, and withdrew his playful expression. He knitted his brows and asked, "Is there really a problem with that talisman?" Arbor shook her head. "It's not a big problem. It's just a cultivation talisman." Duanyu nodded and pointed at Emolien, asking, "Then what about him?" She then saw Crown Prince Emo abruptly topple backwards, facing the sky. The little stoic hastily reached out to grab him, but to her surprise his body was as heavy as a solid weight. The little stoic couldn't pull him back in time, and fell to the ground with him. She rolled onto his chest, and smashed her small face into his body. Duanyu, did he come all the way here just to eat a mouthful of dog food? What the hell was this? Emolien, this fool, was definitely purposely showing off in front of him. Arbor was completely speechless. She raised her small head slightly, and observed her husband's expressionless handsome face up close with her beady black eyes. What was going on? What was with her husband's closed eyes and sleepwalking expression? Was he also like this when she was cultivating charms at a moderate speed back then? Just as Xiao Mu wanted to crawl up, she discovered that he had encircled his arms around her, and her soft and small body was pressed down by him again. Arbor was instantly speechless and glanced at Duanyu, who was standing on the side. She kept hinting with her eyes. "What are you spacing out for? Hurry and pull me up." It had to be said that Duanyu immediately understood Sir Jojo's small gaze. At the same time that he pulled her up, he also pulled out Prince Emo, who was as heavy as a weight. Wasn't this body too freaking heavy, was it, because gravity had been injected into his meridians? "Husband," Jojo cautiously called out to him. Then, she was shocked to find that there seemed to be surging divine power gathering around her husband. This is he had already entered a state of cultivation. This guy was really a scammer. Mr. Jojo had thought that Emolien was not in the right state of mind yet. Who would have thought that the moment the talisman was activated, he had already entered the state of cultivation? Arbor felt that if it wasn't for the fact that it often blocked other people's 5 senses, 7 emotions, 6 desires, and even memories, it would have been a long time ago. Strictly speaking, This talisman was actually quite helpful in making progress. After using this kind of rapid cultivation talisman, the increase in cultivation speed would vary from person to person. If one's luck was good, their cultivation speed might increase by 100 times or more. Thinking about it, a day of cultivation was equivalent to 100 days of cultivation for an ordinary person. It was obvious that the cultivation speed was incomparable. Sighed Jojo, Sama was really too worried about her husband. Why isn't this guy letting go? Arbor glanced at her husband in confusion. To be precise, her gaze should be sweeping toward Emolien's hand that was tightly gripping her. Emolien's slender and strong fingers clasped Arbor's wrist, causing her to be unable to move at all. Wasn't it baffling? If you want to cultivate, then go cultivate properly. Why are you holding on to her and not letting go? Chapter 45-58. Could it be that during these 15 days of cultivation, he was going to be like today and not let go of her wrist? Wasn't this a joke? Arbor shuddered all of a sudden. What if during the half-year of cultivation in the star field, this bastard continued to hold on to him and insisted that he accompany him here? What should he do then? Jojo's little eyes glanced at Duanyu, who was standing at the side. He kept hinting at him with his eyes. What are you standing there for? Hurry and take your mutated brother away. Duanyu's mouth twitched all of a sudden. He kept feeling that the little fellow was secretly sneaking weird glances at him and Emolien. He didn't know what kind of nonsense was going on in this little head of hers. What exactly is going on with him? Duanyu suddenly reached out and yanked Emolien away. Prince Emo, who had been standing there in a daze, suddenly turned around and slapped at his face. Duanyu was caught off guard and was almost hit by the outstretched palm. 10,000 curses were running through his mind. Duanyu yelled in exasperation. Don't you understand the principle of not hitting someone in the face? Emolien pursed her lips and didn't even look at him as she attacked his face. You fool, I'm telling you, don't push your luck. I'll retaliate. Duanyu kicked out. Emolien dodged to the side and then mechanically slapped at him again. Duanyu was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Could it be that he was imagining things? Why did he feel like the Emolien in front of him was so abnormal? On the other side, taking advantage of the gap between the two of them, Arbor breathed a sigh of relief and quickly stepped out of the star domain. When he came out, he discovered that vassal Prince Rong was still waiting for them. The two of them looked at each other, but Rongqing didn't say anything and didn't ask about the portable divine realm. It was as if the three people who disappeared one by one were only shadows in the air. Rongqing asked with a smile, His Majesty? Oh, he's busy now. He might be busy for a while. Arbor coughed lightly. He wanted to immediately put on a cold and serious face, but after thinking about it, he comforted. Don't worry. If you have anything you want to talk to him about, just let me know. All right. Crown Prince Rong hurriedly nodded and smiled. It's nothing urgent. Oh, that's right, Jojo. Kill the Celestial Fate Legion. Now all the training is on the right track. Everyone is making rapid progress every day. What Crown Prince Yas means is that it's useless to just talk about strategy on paper. It's best to find a place to train nearby, so that everyone can work together through actual combat. Arbor nodded. It was rare that he didn't diss Yas. Okay, I got it. Let's wait another half a month. Arbor said solemnly. Let them become more familiar with each other and cooperate more tacitly. Also, he had to wait for Long Xia. Since he had already verbally agreed to let Long Xia join, Arbor naturally wouldn't trick him. Okay. Rongqing nodded slightly. Then I'll go make the arrangements first. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Rongqing smiled faintly and turned to leave. Arbor was planning to set up a talisman array outside the deserted island when he suddenly heard Qiuqiu's anxious voice. Master Silver, it's not good. Come in and take a look. Something's wrong with Crown Prince. What? Arbor's heart tightened, and he hurriedly stepped into the divine realm. He saw little Taisue's body flying toward him. Arbor hurriedly rushed forward and caught him. What's wrong with you? Chapter 45-59. However, little Taisue looked at her in bewilderment. In truth, he was also very helpless. He had only left his nest because it was mealtime, and planned to ask Chochio for some warm food. He didn't expect as soon as he came out, he first saw Emolien and Duanyu, those two fools, flying back and forth on a nearby mountain, fighting to their heart's content. Originally, he was just a passerby watching the show, so he could just be an onlooker. However, he didn't expect that Emolien would glance at him out of the corner of her eye and sweep him into the range of the battle as well. "Jojo, I'm telling you, the crown prince has gone crazy," little Taisui said indignantly. "This guy was beating up whoever he caught. He wouldn't talk to you or even look you in the eye. He would roll his eyes at you like he was sleepwalking. In any case, if he caught someone alive, he would beat them to death." Arbor didn't know what to say. Say that hubby became like this because he was harmed by the rapid cultivation curse. Or could it be that she was the one who drew the rapid cultivation talisman to trick her husband? In the end, while she was hesitating, Duanyu, that swindler, made a decision for her. How was she supposed to say this? Better not say it. Don't be nervous, you guys. Before Arbor could finish her sentence, she discovered that Emolien had swiftly teleported in front of her. "Emolien, what are you doing?" Duanyu and little Taisui shouted in unison. This guy couldn't be thinking of beating up Jojo, right? His guts had grown, right? He even dared to beat up Jojo? If he really did, they would call him a hero. Because he moved very quickly and abruptly appeared in front of her. Even Sir Jojo couldn't help but be startled by him. "Are you?" The expressionless Emolien suddenly reached into her pocket and took out a spirit-binding rope. She abruptly raised her hand and shook it. Xiao Mu's entire body shuddered, but before she could speak, she felt her wrists abruptly sink. The little stoic stared dumbfoundedly at Prince Mo, whose hands were tied up, with an incredulous expression. At this moment she thought to herself, this guy is actually awake, right? Is this guy pretending? He actually knew everything. You didn't even enter the state of rapid cultivation, did you? What's going on? This guy's reaction to entering a state of rapid cultivation was different from everyone else's. Fall. But I don't know what will happen to the others after they've been hit by the rapid cultivation talisman. Do you want to try another person? The equally dumbstruck little Taisui was suddenly struck by a cold wind blowing past its body. What was going on? He felt goosebumps all over. What was going on? By the time several hundred thoughts surfaced in Xiao Mu's mind at the same time, Crown Prince Mo had already apathetically tied her up with the spirit-binding rope. He wrapped the rope around her hand and led her away without saying a word. He didn't even bother to look at the people around him. Duanyu, am I being completely ignored? So why is it that Emolien, this person, is becoming more and more annoying? Hubby, do you still remember me? The little stoic couldn't resist asking weakly as she was led away. Could it be that this guy still had his memories? That wasn't possible. The little stoic couldn't make sense of the situation and stared at the back of his head in bewilderment. This guy led her to Fish Orchid Planet with great familiarity and casually found an uninhabited island to fly up. Arbor had a bad premonition. She kept feeling that if she didn't do something, she might end up in a tragedy. Chapter 4560. Who was hubby teasing? Who would end up like this after being hit by a speed cultivation curse? What a weirdo. This guy flew around the island as if he was patrolling. After tossing and turning around for less than an hour, he found a piece of land with good feng shui that faced the sea and backed by a coconut grove. Arbor breathed a sigh of relief and inwardly mused, hubby has finally calmed down. After this, as long as he entered a cultivation state peacefully and steadily, she would have nothing to do. Hubby, I'm telling you, you have to hurry and untie me, or else I'll get angry. Arbor's face was taut as this guy led her to a tall coconut tree with the spirit-binding rope. The tree was covered with oval-shaped fruits, each the size of a ball, and they weighed heavily on the branches. There were actually countless islands like this one on Fish Orchid Planet. Arbor didn't know which island her hubby had brought her to stay on for a while. She used her divine conscience to call Chochio, but Chochio, that swindler, was nowhere to be found and didn't respond for a long time. Hubby. Arbor returned to her senses and looked at his handsome face that was inches away in astonishment. You, why are you sticking so close? The little stoic raised her head, feeling inexplicably a bit scared. Hubby expressionlessly stared at her for a long time, his gaze a bit fixed. The more he looked, the scarier it became. The little stoic moved her lips guiltily and weakly said, "Hubby, I didn't do it on purpose. I also didn't know that swindler Duan Yu would suddenly snatch my speed cultivation curse." The spirit binding rope fell from her wrists. Arbor exhaled lightly and did her best to squeeze out a smile on her stoic face. "How about you? Just cultivate here peacefully. I'll come pick you up in 15 days, okay?" Emolian didn't utter a word, but suddenly used the spirit binding rope to coil around her several times. She was pressed against the coconut tree and tied up securely. "Arbor, husband, what are you doing?" Arbor was dumbfounded. He watched as Emolian pressed him against the tree trunk and used the spirit binding rope to wrap around her again and again. Arbor wanted to cry. Why are you trying to reason with a delirious person? The person in front of him was obviously unreasonable. Fuck, what is this person doing? Arbor's watery eyes widened as he watched this scammer unbuckle her belt. She cried out, brother, don't move. This place is not suitable. Brother, I was wrong, okay? I shouldn't have let my imagination run wild and tricked you with the quick cultivation talisman, and tricked myself in the end. I shouldn't have looked on helplessly as Duan Yu, that swindler, tricked myself. Stop. I won't go, okay? Arbor moved his head and said repeatedly, You can cultivate at ease. I'll stay here to accompany you, isn't that fine? This fella had a flash of inspiration and finally realized where the problem was. Ever since husband was afflicted with the quick cultivation talisman, he seemed to be even more clingy than usual. Whether it was tying her up or unbuckling her belt, there seemed to be only one reason. It was to make her obediently stay here. Jojo's lotus. The little stoic called out tentatively. I'll stay here to accompany you, okay? Emolien's fingers finally came down from her belt. She expressionlessly looked at her before turning to sit down next to her. Chapter 4561. Sir Jojo wanted to cry. This rapid cultivation talisman was really a trap, damn it. Why was everyone affected by the talisman in a different form? Why was Emolien not only thinking about cultivation after being affected by the rapid cultivation talisman, but also thinking, why did he subconsciously keep her here as a sparring partner? This guy was really strange. He was truly a peerless weirdo. Arbor waited for a while. Seeing that his breathing was even, and he had closed his eyes and entered the state, she couldn't help but secretly sigh in relief. Finally, I've settled down, she thought to herself as she moved her body. A person who was bound by the spirit binding rope would most likely not be able to untie himself. Only by letting someone pull the spirit binding rope away could he untie himself. Arbor tilted her little head. Her fingers trembled slightly, and a blue talisman floated out from under her sleeve. The doppelganger talisman flashed and activated. Suddenly, two shadows appeared beside Arbor. One of them took a few steps forward and pulled the spirit binding rope from her body with a finger. With a series of rustling sounds, the spirit binding rope was pulled away from Arbor's body by the shadow. A certain person sighed in relief. Just as he was about to move his arms and legs, he felt a chilly wind blowing from behind his head. It can't be right? Arbor's little face turned green and black. Just as she was about to turn her head, she felt a strong force coming from behind. Arbor was pressed back against the tree trunk by Emolien in an instant. This time she was really shocked. What was going on? Why did Emolien, this guy, come out of the state of cultivation after being affected by the rapid cultivation talisman? Wasn't this person too exaggerated? This was a talisman. Xiaomu was perplexed no matter how hard she racked her brains. Yet she saw the man's cold face pressing closer and closer to her inch by inch. Closer. So close that their breaths were about to intertwine. He suddenly nibbled on her lips, as if he had found something new. He reached out and hugged her, lingering on her lips. Arbor's face flushed red. She stammered, You're just pretending. You didn't lose your 5 senses at all, right? Husband. Emolien. Xiao's Lien. This fellow stretched out his leg and kicked the man with neither light nor heavy force as he shouted with all his might. She watched as his hands moved up and down, wanting to undo her clothes again. Arbor hurriedly shouted, "Brother, brother! Calm down, calm down, calm down! I'm joking. Don't leave, don't leave. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving you. I'm just going to stand here and watch you cultivate. Calm down, cold, calm down. Calm down." She quickly reached out and patted his back comfortingly. She tried to coax him and whispered, "Stop it, Jojo's run. Look at me. Look at me. Yes, yes, let's watch. Look at my sincere eyes. I'm not lying to you. I'm just going to stay here and cultivate with you." Emolien released his claws. As if he understood, he raised his hand and pinched her little face. He expressionlessly tied 17 or 18 spirit-binding ropes around her body and sat down obediently under the tree beside her. Arbor wanted to cry but had no tears. She called out through her spiritual consciousness, "Ball, where are you? Ball, ball? Help, come and think of something." She really didn't want to stand here and stare. "Master, what's going on? Where are you now?" Arbor gritted her teeth. "Sense it yourself. I'm in Lanhai, on an island full of coconut trees. Come here and help me think of something." Chapter 4562. "All right, Master, just you wait. Chio will rush over to your side right away." Arbor breathed a sigh of relief. Who would have thought that she freaking heaved a sigh of relief too quickly? Before long, Chio's flustered and exasperated voice traveled into her conscious. Master, it's bad. I don't know what's going on with the island you're on, but someone reinforced an isolation barrier from the outside. A barrier set up by a transcendent god realm. Its defense is super strong. Chio can't get in." "What?" Xiao Mu's eyes widened until they were round balls. She then looked up at the sky, on the verge of tears. Emolien, this fraud, when did she set up an isolation barrier on the island? With this fellow's cultivation, very few people could barge into this isolation barrier, right? Arbor was a bit flustered and exasperated. She looked at the dozen or so spirit-binding ropes tied around her, then glanced at her husband, who was sitting beside her like an old monk in meditation. "Duanyu, Feng Chongqing, rotten peach blossoms. Mayan, save me. Can someone come and save her? Was there anyone? How could she be someone who could calm down? If she was tied up here by Jojo's lotus and had to squat for a full half a year, then really Jojo would become yesterday's daylily." Uft. A light chuckle came from not far behind her. Arbor tilted her head and looked over, only to see Duanyu slowly walking over with a faint smile. His appearance was actually somewhat deserving of a beating. Arbor glared at that person with her almond-shaped eyes. Hurry and think of something. Her husband had mutated, so she really had no way to deal with him now. The only thing she could do now was to subdue this fellow and lock him up in a small black room. Only then could this fellow completely stop. Or she could admit defeat and drag this fellow out of the star domain. It would only take 15 days to torment him in the outside world. It was better than tormenting him here for half a year. Arbor wanted to cry but had no tears. "Jojo, do you remember?" "Remember what?" Arbor snapped at him, his little face showing a bit of fierceness. "Do you remember what happened at Hullen Mountain? I was also tied up by the spirit-binding rope. I asked you to untie me, but you flipped me over along with the tree. It hurt like hell. My hand is about to break." This was really a little inauspicious star, beating him up like a dog the first time they met. He really didn't know what he saw in her. Arbor. He really touched a sore spot. Was this the time to reminisce about the past? If they continued talking, Jojo's lotus would open her eyes again. "Shut up." Arbor yelled in exasperation. "Hurry up and think of something. Can you set up a barrier or something and lock Jojo's lotus in the little black room first?" Duanyu harumphed and cast a sidelong glance at a certain expressionless person who was meditating on the side. "Although I don't want to admit it, this fellow's cultivation is still slightly higher than mine. See, I can even enter the defensive barrier he set up with a bit of effort. It goes without saying that I can't lock him up either." Duanyu suddenly leaned over and looked at her with a grin. "Jojo, you look quite comical being tied up here right now. How about I chop this tree in half for you, so that you can hug it and move around without any effort? Ha 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 ha. Every dog has his day, and the heavens will spare anyone. Without another word, Arbor lifted a small hand from under the spirit-binding rope and smacked Duan Yu's large head. He grumpily shouted, "Scram! If you didn't come to help." Chapter 4563. Xiao Mu suddenly shut her mouth and winked at Duan Yu, who was just inches away from her. Duan Yu was taken aback, and he grinned at her. "Jojo, why are you winking at me for no reason? Do you want me to come closer?" Arbor expressionlessly looked at him. A gust of wind suddenly attacked him from behind, but Duan Yu didn't even look. He flicked his sleeve and swiftly swatted away Emolien's hand. "Jojo, why don't you tell me, how did this person become like this? Look at his appearance. He's so silly and clumsy. His eyes seem to be looking at me, but they don't seem to be focused." Duan Yu raised his chin and looked back at Arbor with a spurious smile. "My Jojo, don't tell me that strange talisman in your hand just now caused him to lose his senses? Why not?" Inspiration seemed to surface in Duan Yu's mind, but it was gone in a flash. He asked very rapidly, "Oh, I understand now. Previously, you also lost your senses in the Mystic Beast Forest. You used this talisman." Arbor's small face was stoic, his expression saying, "I don't understand what you're talking about." Duan Yu couldn't help curling his lips in amusement. As he continued to attack, he would backhand Emolien from time to time as he teased with a grin. "Heavens, Jojo, you're so deceptive. You were the one who released that talisman. You were the one who threw it at hubby." Arbor expressionlessly refused to admit that he was the one who deceived her. Jojo, you're being too unkind by saying that. You were clearly the one who was holding that talisman. In other words, even if I didn't do that, you also wanted to secretly activate the talisman and throw it at him, right?" Arbor looked at Duan Yu with disdain and said, "Don't deny it. You're the one who tricked him. When he wakes up, he'll definitely make you pay for it with your skin and bones." Duan Yu's mouth twitched, and he swatted away the Raven Moon sword that Emolien suddenly pulled out. He stomped his feet in exasperation and exclaimed, "Emolien, I'm telling you, don't draw your sword at the drop of a hat. I will retaliate." "What's going on? Jojo?" The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal, Saint Sun Mi Yen, and the others finally rushed over. "The defensive barrier outside is really hard to break. Emolien is why are they fighting? Let's not talk about this for now." Arbor was speechless. He gestured for Qin Lai to look at the spirit-binding rope on him. "Hurry up and untie it. Was there something wrong with her husband? Why did he make so many spirit-binding ropes? He was just teasing her." The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal stifled his laughter. He raised his hand and pulled out all the spirit-binding ropes from her body. "Jojo, what happened to Emolien? What else could it be? She was tricked by Jojo's talisman." Duan Yu guffawed. Like a wisp of smoke, he swiftly drifted several meters away from Emolien. Subsequently, he discovered that Emolien, this troublemaker, had stopped. She suddenly turned her head, and her unfocused gaze landed on Arbor very accurately. "I originally wanted to lure him away, but this fool actually remained unmoved. Looks like she's not completely unconscious. She's already this dumb, yet she still freaking knows how to protect her food. She really isn't a good person." Duan Yu retorted in his mind. Sir Jojo's heart also thumped. Fuck, there were so many people here right now. What if hubby pounced over and undid her belt and groped her? She really couldn't afford to lose this old face. "Hubby, stand there and don't move. I'll come over, I'll come over." Arbor made a prompt decision. Chapter 4564. She hurriedly stretched out her hand to call out to him, and very consciously walked over to his side. "Qiuqia, what should we do now? Although Jojo's lotus has been hit by a speed cultivation curse, he's still tormenting me. He won't cultivate properly until I'm within his line of sight. Qiuqia, Masta, since Crown Prince the Great can't let go of you, why don't you cultivate here with him for a while? Scram! Are you Lotus's subordinate or Jojo's subordinate?" Judging from this guy's tone, he was siding with Emolien, infuriating this Sir Qiao to death. Qiuqiu hastily placated her. Master, how about this? Lure Crown Prince the Great to the Tower of Punishment. Let's lock him up in there, and let him cultivate without any distractions. What do you think of this method? Arbor's eyes brightened. Oh, it's that tower prison in a corner of Paradise Planet, right? The little fellow was immediately discouraged. Even the Tower of Punishment set up by heavenly law couldn't imprison hubby. Do you think your knockoff can do anything? My master, then there's only one method. What method? Drag Crown Prince the Great out of the star domain, and let him torment himself for 15 days. When the curse's effect wears off, he'll return to normal. Arbor. Emolien suddenly hugged him. Sensing the tyrannical strength coming from his arm, Arbor hastily looked up and repeatedly placated. Jojo's Lotus, it's fine, don't be nervous. Jojo won't leave, he won't leave you. Bam. Arbor watched in astonishment as Emolien's tall figure collapsed on top of him. Why did you hit him? The little stoic touched the back of the man's head, and couldn't resist twitching her mouth. Damn poor Lotus. There was a big bump on the back of his head. It was clear that Duan Yu, this swindler, didn't hold back at all. Jojo's Lotus was truly pitiful. He would definitely die of anger after waking up. Long story short, he can only stay unconscious for 2 minutes at most. He will wake up soon. Duan Yu said exasperatedly. You were hesitant about whether to use this talisman on him earlier, so he could properly enter closed-door cultivation to stabilize his realm. Arbor nodded expressionlessly, then set up an illusion glyph formation, and stay here to accompany him in his cultivation. Remember to leave your aura behind. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to fool this guy. He actually can't see or hear you at all, right? If you leave behind a wisp of your aura, you should be able to fool them for a while. As for how long he would be able to fool them, no one knew. This guy was actually quite strong, but he had lost his 5 senses, so how did he sense Qiao? The obsession in the depths of her soul. Duan Yu couldn't resist pursing his lips. Arbor thought that it made sense. As long as he set up the illusory glyph array somewhere not too far away from him, he would be able to stay here and continue cultivating. She still had to go out and deal with Long Huan and the others. Once she was done with these trivial matters, she could come in and accompany him. Emolien abruptly opened her eyes. If she didn't know in her heart that he couldn't see at all, she would have jumped in fright from the sharp glint shooting out of his eyes. After sensing that his treasure was right beside him, the Crown Prince calmed down and entered a cultivation state with peace of mind. Everyone was speechless. After the little stoic stealthily set up the illusory glyph formation and left behind her aura, the group finally left quietly. Qiuqiu, watch hubby carefully. If there's anything wrong, tell me immediately. Chapter 45-65. After her husband was hit by the rapid cultivation talisman, there was something wrong with him. Qiao was worried to death. Before leaving, Arbor took the time to make a trip to the main planet. The main planet was the only place that very few people could set foot on without Sir Jojo's permission. This was Duan Yu's first time seeing an appearance talisman strip the air in front of him and reveal mountains and rivers in the distance. It was as if layers upon layers of painting scrolls were unfolding before his eyes. The magnificent palace of immortals pushed aside the heavy fog in front of him. The thin veil covering the palace of immortals slowly appeared before his eyes. It was truly magnificent, like a waning dream. Come. Arbor tugged on his sleeve, pulling him back from his daze. Duan Yu hastily followed, and couldn't help but blink. Jojo, this is your treasure hall? The more Arbor looked at the treasure hall in front of him, the more he liked it. MHM. How is it? It's truly magnificent. Duan Yu sighed with emotion as he followed Arbor into the longevity hall. When Duan Yu stepped onto the first floor, he saw that the high dome was like a sky full of stars. Countless balls of light of various sizes floated above their heads. Suddenly, a ball of light swooped down at high speed and directly crashed into them. Arbor quickly scooped it up and peeled off the outer layer of light, revealing a dagger brimming with purple light. It could cut through hair and cut through iron like mud. When that dagger swung, a purple light faintly flashed in the air. Accompanied by the power of lightning, It sliced a spirit weapon that Arbor casually tossed out into two with a ripping sound. Here. Arbor tossed it to Duan Yu. It took a fancy to you. Take it with you. It's pretty good. Duan Yu held it in his hand with a smile in his eyes. With a flash, he appeared several meters away. The power of space. I wonder how many of these short blades and daggers Ant Master forged. They're all origin restoration weapons with the power of space attached. My Ant Master is too strong. Does he usually have nothing to do? So he fiddles with these origin restoration weapons all day long? This was refined by my martial uncle. It's equivalent to a saint artifact here. Take it. It jumped down and chose you, which means it likes you. Arbor tugged at him. Come. Follow me upstairs to get something. Duan Yu faintly smiled as he glanced at Arbor. After branding this dagger with flowing purple light, he recalled it back to his conscious and slowly followed after Arbor. When the two of them arrived at the second floor, Duan Yu was quite shocked. In front of his eyes was a vast sea of stars. Rows of small bottles of various colors and shapes were arranged in a square formation. Layer by layer, they were arranged from the top of the dome. Their number could be described as innumerable. Arbor beckoned him to a position against the wall. In addition to rows of gold-rimmed Jinan cabinets, there was also a small platform that was a foot wide. Xiaomu used a fence of glowing gemstones as thick as her fingers to encircle it. The 9 steps were made of pure gold. At the center of the highest platform, there was a 9 stars mirroring the moon cauldron, which was gurgling and emitting hot steam. Wait a moment. Arbor abandoned Duan Yu and dashed up the platform. Duan Yu, who was standing at the bottom of the 9 steps and looking up at the little fellow's series of actions, couldn't help but twitch his mouth, exasperated. This platform must have been built by this fellow for his wicked taste. It was like a divine altar. What an oddball child. Duan Yu flew up the 9-story platform and arrived beside Arbor. He saw the little fellow lift the cauldron's lid, and her eyes curved. Chapter 4566. A rather rich medicinal fragrance flowed out of the cauldron, spreading to the entire second floor of the Hall of Longevity. Duan Yu's eyes also brightened. What kind of pill is this? The fragrance is so pleasant. Just by smelling it, it's enough to make one feel refreshed. This is a Jewel Heaven Jade Dragon pill. I refined it with great care. Arbor patted the cauldron with a grin, and a string of pills jumped out and obediently entered the emerald jade bottle in her hand. Arbor filled 3 full bottles, and the remaining dozen or so pills were placed in a small porcelain can. She handed it to Duan Yu. This fellow sighed and muttered softly, "The Jasper Sky Jade Dragon pill is really difficult to refine. I've been refining here for a day and a night for 24 hours, and I've only produced a little over 300 pills. It's so slow." Duan Yu held the small porcelain can in his hand and speechlessly glanced at Arbor. What 24 hours for a day and a night? In the outside world, Sir Jojo had refined 300 or so pills in just 2 hours. Most importantly, this guy must have been too lazy to watch the fire, so he left the cauldron here and left. Maybe she suddenly woke up after some time and should withdraw the pills. A day and a night had already passed in the star domain. The actual time needed probably wouldn't take that long. Just eat this as a snack. Later, go outside and fill up another Jewel Heaven Jade Dragon pill. With your cultivation, eating this diluted pill won't have much effect. Arbor put the 3 large jade bottles into her inner world. These are the pills I prepared to kill the Heavenly Fate battle group. With their cultivation, if they can eat one within a month, it will be very beneficial to their cultivation. Come with me. The two left the Hall of Longevity and returned to their original secluded courtyard. The Jewel Heaven Jade Dragon pill was like an emerald water vein, encircling the entire courtyard like a pearl. Wait a moment. Arbor bent down and took out a large piece of paste-like Jewel Heaven Jade Dragon pill. She compressed it into small green beads and threw them all into a carved wooden box. There were probably hundreds of small green beads in this box. Arbor handed it to Duan Yu and solemnly instructed, "With your cultivation, you can only take one of these completely undiluted fine jade dragons every 7 days. If I eat 7 of them, my cultivation will probably advance by a small step. You can't eat all the time. After eating 7 pills, you will have to stop for a year and a half before you can continue taking them. Eating the fine sky jade dragon for a long time was enough to subtly improve one's bones, tendons, and meridians. At the same time, it could also clean up all the hidden injuries in one's body. Okay. Duan Yu nodded with a smile. The two of them left the star field, and Arbor tossed the 3 bottles of Jewel Sky Jade Dragon pills to Crown Prince Rong, asking him to consider how to distribute them. The elites of the 3 prefectures had to improve themselves to the greatest extent within half a year. This required a variety of medicinal resources to keep up with their cultivation speed. She didn't have the patience to rely on Arbor alone to refine the pills, so she naturally instructed Ming Yasi to gather a group of pill alchemists to help on the island as soon as possible. At that time, Huang He would also bring a group of pill alchemists over. Counting the days, they should arrive in a few days. Brothers, you've worked hard, but everyone's efforts definitely won't go to waste. The 3 bottles of pills in my hands are called Jewel Sky Jade Dragon pills. They are excellent pills refined from saint-grade materials. You only need to take 1 pill every month. Chapter 4567. This way, it can expand the meridians, raise the aptitude of the root bone, advance the body's cultivation, and so on. All of these are extraordinary effects. Arbor chatted with that fellow Mi Guang for the time it took to burn a stick of incense before coming out of the karst cave. He saw rows of well-trained members of the Killing Heaven's Fate squad gathering on the large drill field. Air Rong was currently boosting morale. Xiao Mu only heard the vassal prince say, "Everyone's sweat and effort today will be repaid in the future. Here are the 300 Jewel Skies Jade Dragon pills that the Crown Princess prepared for us. The effects are miraculous, and anyone who consumes them will know. In the next 7 days, the first 100 brothers to complete all the missions in the shortest time will receive the resources that you deserve, as well as this pill." Arbor expressionlessly gathered his sleeves and walked over with small steps. As he walked, he was still thinking, this Air Rong is really eloquent. Staying by Duan Yu's side, Duan Yu probably didn't need to use his brain to draft memorials and write documents. Duan Yu only needed to order him around. TSK. The little fellow had yet to finish lamenting. She saw Commandery Princess Wushuang bouncing out from the side and looking at her with sparkling eyes. "Sister-in-law, are you idle?" Arbor expressionlessly glanced at her. "What's the matter? Since you're idle, let's spar." Commandery Princess Wushuang exclaimed excitedly. "I've always heard that sister-in-law's martial arts are exquisite, and that your cultivation far surpasses others. Since you're idle, let's arbor. Sikong Fuling rushed over while panting. I finally found you. Where did you go just now? I searched the entire island but couldn't find you. What happened to you?" Arbor saw that she was sweating profusely and stuttering when she spoke, so he indifferently swept her a glance and nonchalantly interrupted her. "I just went to the karst cave to rest for a while. Do you need something? You come with me." Sikong Fuling reached out to grab her wrist. Arbor dodged to the side, displeasure written all over his face. Not just any random person could touch Sir Jojo. "If you have something to say, just say it. Why are you pulling me around?" And Wushuang interjected and raised her hand to stand between the little stoic and Sikong Fuling. "Besides, everything is based on first come, first served. I was the one who spoke to sister-in-law first. We still have things to do." "No way." Sikong Fuling called out with a sullen face. "What important matter could you have? Isn't he still going around looking for people to spar with?" "Me." Princess Wushuang was furious. "What's wrong with sparring? Is sparring not a proper thing to do? The purpose of sparring was to improve one's martial arts and cultivation. That was the most serious thing to do. Arbor, come with me. Take a look at my brother. He's in a lot of pain. No antidote seems to work." Startled, Arbor turned to look at Sikong Fuling. What happened to Ding Yun? Looking at Sikong Fuling's anxious and sweaty appearance, it should not be fake. Arbor knitted his brows and looked up to see Duan Yu walking over from the back of the military field's formation. "Jojo." Duan Yu raised his brows and slowly approached her. Princess Wushuang inexplicably glanced at this guy vigilantly, as if she was facing a great enemy. Wasn't this Songzhou's majesty a bit too handsome? He was already on par with her big brother. How could that be possible? She didn't see her brother today, so she didn't know where the swindler ran off to. Chapter 4568. How could he allow such a handsome young man to wander around his sister-in-law? Wasn't he making trouble for himself? As soon as Duan Yu walked over, he received Princess Wushuang's covetous gaze. "Jojo, she's glaring at me." A certain person, who habitually complained, immediately turned to look at Arbor and aggrievedly blinked her beautiful peach blossom eyes. Princess Wushuang was a bit shocked and looked at that guy in disbelief. Fuck, this Songzhou emperor was truly shameless. She merely glared at him. And he actually complained to her sister-in-law in front of her. "Wushuang, don't glare at him," Arbor expressionlessly said, which instantly made Princess Wushuang feel unwell. Oh no, where are you, eldest brother? Someone is trying to poach you. Look at Lil's sister-in-law's attitude toward this Songzhou emperor. How nice was that? She had never seen her sister-in-law treat anyone so amiably. For example, that young Master Ding from before, and His Highness Ming Yasi, who liked to chat awkwardly with her sister-in-law. It seemed like Lil's sister-in-law had never treated them nicely. They were both handsome young men, unparalleled in the world and good-looking men. Even she could see Lil's sister-in-law's differential treatment. Eldest brother, hurry back. I feel like you're being cheated on." How could Xiao Mu have known that her one sentence would cause this commandery princess's heart to go up and down? When Princess Wushuang returned to her senses, she instantly discovered that her innocent and beautiful sister-in-law had already left with a wild man. Oh no, Songzhou Emperor. Where are you going? Princess Wushuang was anxious and leaped over. Wait for me, sister-in-law, wait. Eldest brother. I can only help you up to this point. I'll keep an eye on my sister-in-law. I absolutely won't let that dog emperor of Songzhou get close to sister-in-law. Dog emperor, remove your dog paws. You're not allowed to tug on my sister-in-law's sleeve. Eldest brother, I really dote on you. That dog emperor of Songzhou, don't say that. Look, he looks like a dog, and his voice is magnetic and gentle. If it were any other girl, she would have already been moved. Only my sister-in-law, this little stoic weirdo that's hard to understand, always turns a blind eye to other people. Sigh, I feel sorry for you, brother. Hurry up and come back. Don't go missing. You're about to lose your wife. Third young master Fu came out of the cave with a stack of books and saw his wife's conflicted expression. He hurriedly swung the book into his inner world and chuckled as he followed behind her. He asked in a small voice, "Wife, what's wrong? Why do you have such an ugly expression?" His wife had been having a great time on the island these few days. As long as she wanted to, she could go around looking for brothers to spar with. Although the brothers who were forced to spar with her were very unwilling, going up against a deity realm level 7 expert. With the brother's ability, they could only end up being beaten up. But he couldn't stop his daughter-in-law from finding people to spar with. It was better to beat others than to beat oneself, third young master Fu thought in his heart. Thus he gladly praised her. He was always helping the tyrant, and helping his wife harm his brothers. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and follow them. Princess Wushuang pinched him, and quickly followed behind. Sikong Fuling was naturally very displeased. She came to Arbor for help, but who knew that there would be several tails following behind her? Not only did the emperor of Songzhou follow her, but even that Princess Wushuang and third young master Fu followed along. Chapter 4569. Her elder brother's illness. She really didn't want so many people to see it. Everyone, please wait. Sikong Fuling suddenly turned to look at Princess Wushuang and the others when they arrived at a karst cave. She said with a cold expression, "Eldest brother is very ill. If too many people go in, it will disturb him. Please forgive us." Princess Wushuang glanced at Arbor and was about to say something. She saw that Songzhou emperor smile at his sister-in-law like a willow in the spring breeze. His smile was pure and gentle as he said, "Go in, I'll wait for you here." Heavens! How could she speak ill of a person who had such a smiling face? His smile was as bright and beautiful as the sun. Even the distant stars couldn't compare to half of his smile. Princess Wuxia clutched her chest with one hand. Eldest brother, sorry, I'm going to change sides. This dog emperor of Zhangzhou is seriously too good looking. That was why it was said that something like good looks really couldn't be desired. The saying that lust blinded one's mind wasn't wrong at all. Third young master Fu hurriedly pounced over and hugged his wife, turning to leave while dragging her along. Shuang, why do you keep looking at that Zhangzhou emperor? What's there to look at about this guy? Isn't he just a little bit more handsome than the average person? That Zhangzhou family is all repulsive. He's the only one who's a little bit good looking. His looks aren't even a 10,000th of your husband's. Don't look, ah. Ha ha. Your skin is indeed as thick as a city gate's iron bastion. Princess Wuxia lamented inwardly. Arbor looked back at that quarrelsome pair and shook his head exasperatedly. He turned to nod at Duanyu, indicating for him not to worry. Only then did Arbor turn around and follow Sikong fulling into that dark and gloomy karst cave. There was no light in the darkness, so they couldn't see their fingers in front of them. However, with Arbor's eyesight, he could completely adapt to the dark environment in front of him in an instant. Moreover, as long as she released her divine conscience, she could see the situation inside the karst cave clearly. This karst cave wasn't very big. A dark figure was curled up in the innermost corner of the cave. His body seemed to be wrapped in a thin blanket as he leaned against the wall, trembling non-stop. Sikong fulling laughed mockingly. I didn't lie to you this time. You don't have to leave so many helpers outside the cave, as if I might harm you at any time. With your current skills, you shouldn't be able to do anything to me now, Arbor said very honestly. When Sikong fulling heard this, she was so angry that her chest was about to swell. Can this guy not speak? His words could drive even a saint mad with anger. He could not help but argue with her. Then why did you find a transcendent state to stay outside the cave? Are you afraid that we will eat you? Arbor glanced at her. If a fight breaks out, I can't be without a helper. Sikong fulling was at a loss for words. She felt unbearably stifled by this fellow's words and inexplicably indignant. What nonsense are you spouting? Hurry over and take a look. Arbor paced over expressionlessly and coldly said, From just now until now, you've been the only one spouting nonsense. Sikong fulling. I fucking want to slap this stoic face to death. When Arbor approached, she finally discovered that young Master Ding, who was curled up in a corner of the cave wall, was drenched in sweat from head to toe, as if he had a flood. He was curled up against the cave wall, wishing for nothing more than to become one with the karst cave. When he saw the little stoic approaching, he involuntarily shrunk back. Chapter 4570. It seemed that what Sikong fulling said earlier was true. She still remembered that when she bumped into Sikong fulling on Devastating Island, Sikong fulling repeatedly glared at her with red eyebrows and green eyes, saying that she harmed her big brother and so on. Arbor even carefully thought about it back then. She didn't seem to have harmed young Sir Ding, right? What did she mean by she harmed young Sir Ding? She really didn't understand. Ding Yun looked extremely uncomfortable. This illness seemed to be abnormally torturous. It made him lean against the wall as he panted heavily. Big brother, Sikong fulling called out anxiously. Don't come here. Young Sir Ding's stifled voice was heard, very much rejecting their approach. You're almost half dead, so why are you still flaunting your superiority? Arbor muttered coldly, and several silver needles flew out with the raise of her hand. Her acupoints were extremely accurate, and the silver needles that flew out from a distance all landed very accurately on the man's arm, shoulder, and neck. Young Sir Ding's trembling body stiffened slightly. My big brother is already like this, so can't you say a few soft words? Sikong fulling said angrily. Are you here to put in a good word for me or to treat a patient? Sikong fulling choked on the little stoic's words and stammered. Then do you have any solutions? I naturally have to examine him to know the solution. She wasn't a deity who could tell what was wrong with this guy with a glance from a distance. Of course, she still had to take his pulse first to know the specifics. Arbor paused and looked back at Sikong fulling. You leave first. Sikong fulling didn't bicker with her this time, and only silently glanced at Arbor. She bit her lip and said, You must help him, okay? Arbor didn't turn back and said indifferently, a doctor is benevolent and will do his best. Sikong Fuling didn't waste her breath. Hearing the soft footsteps, Arbor knew that Sikong Fuling had already walked out. She took a few steps forward and took out a needle bag from her sleeve, planning to give young Sir Ding a few more needles. Who knew that this young sir would hastily shrink back and let out a suppressed growl. I said don't come over. Do you think I really want to come? Your sister was worried about you, so she asked me to come. Arbor glanced at him. There are 3 kinds of patients I hate the most in my life. What a load of nonsense. You're doubting me. Weirdo, sick and uncooperative. You're blind and brainless. How many types do you have? Arbor threw out a spirit-binding rope and wrapped it around young Master Ding's body. She spread her fingers and raised the rope. The other end of the rope was gently held in her hand. For this kind of uncooperative patient, I'm afraid that you'll have to be careful. I usually beat them until they're convinced, Arbor said coldly as he pulled on the rope. Young Sir Ding's body was bound by the spirit-binding rope, and he was involuntarily dragged over from the cave wall by the little stoic. He stumbled and fell in front of her. The little stoic lowered her head to look, and only then did she clearly see his ghastly pale small face. Normally, when she saw this guy, his coquettish eyes would flirt everywhere. But today, he appeared to be too miserable. Not only was his entire face as white as a sheet of paper, but his long hair was completely drenched in sweat, and strands of it covered his face. His insufferably enchanting and charming aura was nowhere to be found. Where does it hurt? Arbor grabbed his hand and took his pulse. She couldn't stop her elegant brows from knitting together in a flash. Strange, his body was very healthy. It didn't seem like he was poisoned or suffered any serious injuries. Could it be that the 2 siblings colluded to deceive her? Chapter 4571. Arbor's gaze instantly turned sharp and cold. You guys lied to me? Was she deceived again? Ever since she experienced Seven Flowers' deceit, the little stoic had been vaguely accumulating anger in her heart. She wanted to vent it, but she couldn't, stifling it unbearably. She normally didn't come into contact with those swindlers, so it was fine if she couldn't recall them. But once she did, the new enmity would be compounded with the old hatred. She was extremely furious, and her gaze seemed to ignite with flames as she glared at Ding Yun. She even had the thought of eating him alive. She was still inexplicably worried for him just now. But it turned out that these people were here to deceive her again. Damn swindlers, big swindlers. They all liked to deceive Jojo. Was Jojo a pitiful little person for others to amuse? The little stoic grabbed young Sir Ding's hand and increased her strength, as if wanting to directly snap his wrist. What was rather strange was that young Sir Ding didn't seem to have any strength in his body. He didn't even have the strength to push her hand away. He was barely suppressing the trembling of his body, and the scene was a bit strange. The little stoic stared at him coldly for a while with a taut face. He looked up and smiled at her, his voice trembling as he said, I lied to you. So you still won't go out? Extremely senseless. The little stoic angrily flung his hand away and turned to walk out of the cave. Where's Sikong Fuling? The little stoic angrily rushed out of the cave and hollered. What's wrong? Duan Yu's gaze was puzzled when he saw how furious she was. Didn't she go to see a doctor? Why did she anger the little fellow to this extent? Arbor was so angry that she didn't want to speak. Duan Yu said. Miss Sikong said she was going to prepare some hot water and clean cloth. What's with the pretense? Arbor snorted and tugged at Duan Yu. Let's go. Duan Yu naturally didn't know what happened. Seeing that she was very angry right now, it wasn't convenient for him to ask anymore. So he nodded and said, okay. The 2 of them headed towards the beach. On the way, Arbor's entire face was puffed up with anger. She really believed that Sikong Fuling was possessed to actually believe this pair of siblings. Young Master Ding's story about being stranded on a deserted island at the age of 4 and eating sea fish for 3 years was also made up. Days felt like years on a deserted island, and eating fish tasted bland. Was this all a lie to Jojo? Arbor suddenly stopped in his tracks. He carefully recalled the situation just now and couldn't help but frown. Jojo. Duan Yu frowned in confusion. What happened to Jojo? Could it be that because of that brat's pitiful background, Xiao Xiao really had some sympathy for him? Just thinking about it made him feel extremely unhappy. Duanyu, can you wait for me? Arbor threw down this sentence and suddenly turned to run. Duanyu turned his head, his gaze gloomy as he watched her figure slip away like a wisp of smoke. He muttered to himself, "Sigh, when will I be able to change this bad habit of having a hard mouth and a soft heart?" The fact that Jojo was so nice to people who had nothing to do with him was really heartbreaking. On the other side, inside a secluded and cramped karst cave, Arbor sprinted all the way here. Just as she stepped into this karst cave, a faint scent of blood assaulted her nose. Her heart skipped a beat. Ding ting ding. Don't you dare die on my island and cause trouble for me. Arbor shouted angrily and quickly ran inside. The scene before her caused her pitch-black pupils to contract slightly, and her breathing couldn't help but tighten. Chapter 4572. Ding Yun was lying crookedly on the ground, looking even more miserable than when she left. His entire body was curled up into a ball, his mouth muttering something indistinctly. Arbor couldn't hear a single word clearly. She quickly dashed forward, raised her hand, and very roughly flipped his entire body over. Cough, cough, cough. Ding Yun seemed to be choked, his body was trembling, and he couldn't stop coughing. How are you? Xiao Mu's small stoic face darkened as she gruffly helped him up. She directly raised her hand to slap an unknown pill into his mouth. Your pulse is very stable. There is no indication of any illness. Old illness? Ding Yun's body kept trembling. His entire head was drenched in sweat. I am fine, he stammered in a low voice. What do you mean you're fine? Blood is coming out of your mouth. Arbor raised her hand and inserted a few needles into a few of his acupuncture points to relieve pain. If you don't tell me the truth, I can't help you. Nothing. Ding Yun finally managed to raise his head and weakly gave her a faint smile. I'm really fine. It's all Fu Ling's fault. She made a fuss. This is an old illness. Wait for a while, it will pass. What's wrong with you? Don't tell me it's intermittent. Arbor pulled a long face and helped him to sit upright. I'll give you a few more needles to relieve the pain. If you feel any discomfort, tell me immediately. There was nothing wrong with this person's body, but looking at his distorted face and expression, it seemed like he was in extreme pain. Could it be an extremely strong poison, and she couldn't detect it? Arbor muttered to herself for a moment, and inserted a few more needles into his body. Ding Yun's body trembled slightly, and he couldn't sit still. Arbor raised her hand to support him, frowning as she stared at him. Do you want to take the painkiller? No. Ugh, young Master Ding couldn't help but be speechless. This guy was clearly asking him in an inquiring tone. But in the end, he still slapped the painkiller pill into his mouth. It was such a crude method that it made people feel vexed just by looking at it. You are back again. I'll come back if I want to. Is it any of your business? The little stoic retorted irritably with a cold face. Young Master Ding was speechless. She had obviously rushed back because she was worried about him. So why was there nothing good coming out of her mouth? I forgive you. Arbor couldn't help but feel a little amused. He retorted. What do I need your forgiveness for? You usually speak bluntly to me, but in fact you still care about me. Arbor gave him a hee-hee, and said coldly, I just don't want a living person like you to die on my island and stain my place. I can't not listen to you. Why does a stutterer like you like to talk so much? Arbor impatiently pulled out the silver needles from his body. He stared at him, and then secretly sighed in relief. This damn stutterer should be much better now. And he wasn't trembling as badly as before. His appearance just now looked like he was trembling so much that his organs were about to be flung out. You don't want to tell the truth. I indeed can't tell what illness you have from your pulse, Arbor said coldly. Finger. No need. Chapter 4573. Is it up to you to say no? Young Sir Ding. Do you think you have the right to say no to me with your current tattered body? Young Sir Ding. Why do I suddenly feel like beating her to death? Why was this child always so infuriating with her words? Didn't she know that he was still a patient? Couldn't she unleash a doctor's benevolence and treat her patient better? You have two choices right now. 1. Stretch out your hand and let out your blood obediently. 2. I'll beat you up and drag you like a dead dog. I'll cut a random spot and let out some blood. After Arbor said this, he saw Ding Yun, this punk, sensibly lift his sleeve and offer a ghastly pale palm soaked in sweat to him. Arbor used a small knife to cut his index finger, and expressionlessly took a few drops of his blood. I need to study it before I can tell you what's going on, Arbor said coldly. Jojo, are you worried about me? Arbor chuckled again. Don't think too highly of yourself. I'm just not used to there being people in this world that I can't feel, and people that I can't treat. Young Sir Ding. The more he looked at this headstrong and conceited little fellow, the more he liked her. How is it? Can I come in? Duan Yu's voice sounded from outside the cave. Arbor replied, You can come in now. Young Sir Ding looked up and stared at that young monarch of Tsangzhou, who was slowly entering the cave with a complicated gaze. When I heard Miss Sikong's mournful cries earlier, I thought that young Sir Ding was about to die. Duan Yu mocked with a smirk. I've disappointed your majesty. Young Sir Ding chuckled. He wanted to struggle up, but he felt weak all over. With Jojo around, I naturally won't die. Young Sir Ding said with a smile. If I died, Jojo would probably be very sad. Arbor had already turned to walk outside, and didn't even look back when he heard this. Sad my ass. Duan Yu harumphed and turned to walk out of the karst cave. He coldly said, Jojo probably doesn't want you to die on her island and stink, affecting her appetite. Young Master Ding was speechless. What do you think? How is my eldest brother now? Sikong Fuling rushed over while carrying hot water and cloth strips. Where's eldest brother? I won't die for now. Arbor brushed past her and suddenly stopped. Do you know what kind of poison he was poisoned with? Big brother didn't mention it to you? Sikong Fuling asked with a puzzled look. He didn't say anything. Sikong Fuling was silent for a moment before she looked up at Arbor and said, Since big brother didn't say then he naturally has his own considerations. Arbor turned to leave, fuming the entire way. She couldn't resist clenching her fists and muttering in her mind, I don't believe that there's a poison in this world that Arbor, can't detoxify. Jojo. Duan Yu chased after her and frowned. Do you think he might be faking it? Arbor also thought that Ding Yin, this punk, was probably faking his illness at first. But she could still tell whether this person was really in pain or faking it. Arbor shook his head. Although he didn't have a favorable impression of this guy, he still felt a bit of sympathy for him when he saw how much pain he was in earlier. His illness is a bit strange. This was her first time seeing it after practicing medicine for so many years. His pulse was steady, and he was as healthy as a normal person's. Chapter 4574. Ding Yin looked very healthy, but his entire body hurt like a sieve. Could it be a mental toxin? Then, there should be some clues to follow. She couldn't detect any problems with his pulse, so she should check his blood later. Jojo. Duan Yu gently tugged on her sleeve. Look, you've been busy for half a day. Let's go eat first. At the mention of eating, Arbor's eyes lit up as expected, and she instantly tossed young Master Ding's illness to the back of her mind. You're right, she said to Duan Yu in high spirits. Let's go eat first. Let's talk after eating. Duan Yu nodded with a grin as he inwardly mused. As expected, as long as it's about eating, his chow will let go of everything. How nice, what are we eating today? How about sour fish and vinegar soup? Duan Yu, you and Jojo's Lien both don't like spicy food, right? Who said so? I am me, and Lien is Lien. How can I be as weak as him? Why would I cry after eating spicy food? Arbor blinked. Did Lien cry? I don't think so. Normally, when he ate spicy food, he would at most furrow his brows and then stop eating it. Duan Yu harumphed. Don't be fooled by his usual immortal-like appearance. He's actually very annoying. He hates salty and spicy food the most, and he doesn't like sweet food either. Haha, he's so picky. If you don't like him, then don't. Unlike me, who's easy to feed everywhere. I'm not picky about anything. Arbor silently looked up at him. Duan Yu's voice abruptly stopped as he looked in shock at the little fellow's departing figure. Was he imagining things just now? Why did it feel like Sir Jojo just rolled his eyes at him? My Qiao, what did you do to me just now? Duan Yu's figure flashed as he chased after her. Did you roll your eyes at me? You really know him well, Arbor said indifferently, and continued to walk forward without looking back. Sir Jojo usually didn't research what Jojo's lotus liked to eat, and what she didn't like. She didn't expect Duan Yu to understand Jojo's lotus so well. Duan Yu, Jojo's gaze was so strange. What should he do? Jojo, can you tell me what you were thinking when you stared at me just now? What was going on with this inexplicably wretched expression? Nothing. Arbor snorted and turned his head to glare at him. He forcefully changed the topic. I've been busy recently. I haven't asked about you. What could have happened to me? Duan Yu looked at her innocently. I'm perfectly fine. Don't you see that I'm quite free right now? Otherwise, I wouldn't have come looking for you. Arbor was silent for a moment, hesitating whether or not he should ask him about noble consort Duan. Arbor became even more hesitant, as she was worried that she would tear open Duan Yu's wound, that had just healed a little bit. At this time, they heard hurried footsteps. A member of the Heavenly Fate squad bowed to the two of them. Crown Princess His Majesty Tsangzhou, the young master of the Dragon Clan of Forgetfulness, has brought many people over. Many of them are injured and are coming ashore. Our people have temporarily surrounded them. Do you two want to go over and take a look? Arbor quickly nodded and met Duan Yu's eyes. Let's go. Let's go over and take a look, Duan Yu quickly said. The Dragon Clan of Forgetfulness's Dragon Clan had finally arrived. Who knew what the current situation was? Chapter 45-75. When Arbor and Duan Yu rushed over, they immediately saw Long Huan dragging a group of people toward the shore with a disheveled expression. A young merman about 17 or 18 years old stumbled his way onto the shore. When he looked up, he just happened to meet Arbor's icy and apathetic eyes. This fellow shuddered in fright, and the trident in his hand fell to the ground with a clang, almost hitting his toes. Duan Yu silently twitched his mouth and glanced at the little stoic beside him in amusement. The stoic face expressionlessly looked at the group in front of her, a faint trace of coldness on her lips. What is it? Did your grandmother send people to kill your way back? Brother. Long Shangyun immediately ran over when she received the news. She didn't have time to bicker with the little stoic, and hastily ran up to support the disheveled Long Huan, who seemed to have exhausted all his strength. Brother, your complexion is so unsightly. Are you injured? I'm fine. Long Huan panted heavily, as he held onto Long Shangyun's hand. With great difficulty, he finally stepped onto the shore. Just as he stepped onto the soft snow, his entire body tilted and almost fell to the ground. Long Shangyun's brother caused a bit of a commotion. Arbor expressionlessly looked at them, and Wu Shuang and third young master Fu, who rushed over after hearing the news, looked at each other and couldn't suppress the smile on their lips. It's so strange. Why did they feel refreshed when they saw Long Huan so unlucky? Long Huan, this unlucky child, probably didn't have any good luck every time he saw the little stoic. He probably used up all his good luck in this lifetime when he bumped into the stoic face. The little stoic glanced at him, and her eyes suddenly brightened. She quickly ran toward the shore. Auntie! Qingye had just climbed out of the sea while dragging the swaying Qing Shueshua. Before she had time to clean her clothes, she saw Qiao Qiao running towards them. Qingye was very happy. Jojo, we meet again. This island looks quite spacious. Queen Qingye took out a spatial spirit device and smiled at Arbor. It seems that after a long time, the remaining 3,000 citizens of our country will be begging for Jojo's mercy. My pleasure. Arbor nodded slightly. Great Jojo. Let's cut the pleasantries. Take a look and see if there's a place for them to stay. I'll let them out first. You can't stay in this spatial artifact for more than 24 hours. Now it's almost time. We should let them out quickly. If not, it'll be a big mess. Queen Qingyi says. The space inside is very narrow. It's probably very crowded right now. Everyone must be feeling very uncomfortable. All right. Arbor didn't ask any more questions. He nodded and turned around decisively, leading Queen Qingye towards the cave. In the past, we found a very big cave. It's not a problem for us to shelter from the wind and rain, Arbor said. It's as big as the military field. It can hold 3,000 people. It's just that it's dark and damp. We need everyone to clean it up. Arbor stopped and said softly, Aunt Yi, if you need anything, just tell me. Qingye laughed loudly. For people like us who have lost our country, it's good that we have a place to stay. How can we have any other request? Let's settle down first. Chapter 4576. That's enough, child. Why do you look so miserable? Queen Qingye wrapped her arms around Arbor's shoulders and said with a smile, It's not like Aunt Yi is someone who can't bear hardships. At worst, we can start all over again. As long as there are still people from Woman Kingdom, then one day, everything will be fine. Arbor couldn't help but admire her when he saw that she was very optimistic and didn't seem to be forcing a smile at all. If it were anyone else, if a small island with tens of thousands of people was slaughtered until only 1,000 or so people were left, they would be depressed for a period of time and wouldn't be able to crawl out of their grief. The queen was open-minded by nature and firmly believed that she would crawl back up from where she fell. She didn't need anyone to comfort her. Of course, it was very possible that this was just a forced smile. After all, so many innocent people died in Tianyin's hands. How could she easily forget such a deep-seated debt of blood? There will be a chance, Queen Qingye said softly. What could she do when there was a chance? Arbor thought. One day, there would be a chance to uproot the entire Tianyin and make them pay the price for their repeated crimes. Qingye turned her head to look at Xiaomu and gave her a faint smile. The dead have already passed away. Only the living need to continue on and live each day well. Aunt Yi, Woman Kingdom will still return, Arbor said. I also firmly believe that there will be such a day. The living still had to continue living. As long as they worked hard, there would be a day when they could see a different tomorrow. Mummy, facial paralysis. I said facial paralysis. Long Shangyun supported her eldest brother and followed behind them with a group of mermen. Long Shangyun called out twice, but couldn't help but feel angry when she saw that the little stoic ignored her. All right, let her go settle down the people from Woman Kingdom first. Long Huan took a deep breath and felt like his legs were filled with lead. His face was so numb that he couldn't muster any strength. Eldest brother, where's your mermaid tail? Why didn't it mutate after entering the water? Long Huan couldn't help but glance at her with a wry smile. It's been almost a day and night since last night. The mutated shark tail disappeared not long ago. Long Shangyun was taken aback as she stared at him in astonishment. Big brother. Yeah, don't be nervous. This is the first time I've encountered such a situation. Long Huan took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He comforted his sister softly. It's probably because he was too tired. These days, I haven't been able to eat or sleep well. I also have to mediate with the people sent by grandmother. I'm very tired. That's not to the extent. Long Shangyun suddenly covered her small mouth and revealed a shocked expression. Big brother. Could it be because of what grandmother said, that the power of the mermaid pearl's baptism is getting weaker and weaker in our bodies? Every time I mutate the shark tail, it's the same as using this power. And because we don't receive the appropriate replenishment, this power will only weaken in our bodies until it's gone. Don't talk nonsense, Long Xie said with a serious expression. We are born mermen. The power of the merfolk is something that we should possess. Furthermore, through continuous cultivation, we can strengthen this power in our bodies. It has nothing to do with the baptism of the 10,000-year-old mermaid pearl. How can it have nothing to do with it? Long Shangyun muttered softly. I heard grandmother say that our talent growth in future. Chapter 4577. It's all related to the baptism of the mermaid pearl. Long Shangyun purposely lowered her voice and muttered. For example, the people of our previous generation are much more talented than us. It's said that the grandchildren of our next generation will be mentally retarded after losing the baptism of the mermaid pearl. Nonsense! Long Qian glared at Long Shangyun speechlessly. Shangyun, How can you believe the completely baseless words of the elders and grandmother? Long Qian shook his head. I can tell you clearly now. The baptism of the mermaid pearl will only improve the merfolk's physique and growth potential. But it's only an improvement and not a complete reversal. In reality, whether we succeed or not still depends on whether we work hard enough. Long Shangyun pouted. I know, big brother. Don't lecture me every time you open your mouth. Long Qian shook his head helplessly. When he looked up, he saw the little stoic expressionlessly walking out of the cave. Strangely, Prince Mo, who always stuck to her, wasn't here today. Behind the little stoic-faced cousin stood another young sir with a magnificent and extraordinary bearing. How is it? Arbor shouted at the two of them. Long Shangyun was speechless. I'm fucking used to the way the stoic talks to me. Long Qian coughed softly and subconsciously brushed his wet hair away from his face. 3,000 personal guards ready to participate in the training at any time. Arbor glanced at him. I'm asking you about Long Qian's attitude. Are you in such a sorry state because Long Qian's men chased you all the way here? Long Qian laughed bitterly. Long Shangyun couldn't help but widen her eyes and shout in exasperation. Impossible. How could grandmother send men to kill my brother? She didn't want to kill me. Long Qian laughed bitterly again. It's just that grandmother wants to bring us back. If she really wanted to kill us, how could my 3,000 subordinates withstand the simultaneous attack of thousands of merfolk? Arbor nodded indifferently. This means that Long Qian still has some true feelings for you. When Long Huan heard this, he felt an inexplicable pain in his heart. Grandmother treats you with sincerity. Whether or not you are sincere, I can feel it. Arbor's cold voice interrupted Long Huan's words. With an indifferent expression he said, Men, take them down and settle them down. You must be tired from the long journey. Take a rest for the night. If there's anything, we can discuss it tomorrow. That's fine too. Then younger cousin, before Long Yin could finish speaking, he saw the little stoic turn around and leave. He could not help but feel bitter in his heart as he thought to himself, looks like my cousin has a deep prejudice against the merman race. Judging from her attitude, it seemed like she wanted to avoid interacting with them as much as possible. She spoke and acted in a businesslike manner, and simply couldn't approach this cold-hearted little stoic. Big brother, don't think too much. It wasn't easy to bring everyone here. You must be tired after so many days. You should go and rest first. Long Shangyun supported her elder brother and said in a low voice, The young sir behind the stoic face is Tsangzhou's newly ascended emperor. Long Qian laughed bitterly. There are so many talented people by my cousin's side. As expected, every one of them is extraordinary. That stoic face made me angry all the time, Long Shangyun said angrily. Chapter 4578. But forget it. Seeing how her personality is, I won't bicker with her. Long Shangyun pursed her lips. This fellow was about the same age as her. She originally thought that after staying on the island for a while, she would be able to talk to her. Who knew that stoic usually didn't even bother to look at her when she saw her? She waited until she mustered up the courage to chat with her while blushing. In the end, she couldn't even say 2 sentences before it was over. That stoic had an ultimate trump card when it came to talking to people. That was, she could kill the conversation anytime and anywhere. She truly couldn't chat with her. If you chatted with her, you would only end up looking for abuse. How stifling, Arbor heard the siblings chattering away as they walked away, and he couldn't resist turning back to take a look. Duanyu smiled and kindly reminded, Jojo, sour fish soup with vinegar. Arbor's eyes lit up, and he quickly hooked his finger at him. Let's call Big Brother and the Feng brothers and return to Paradise Planet to eat. Okay. Duanyu nodded with a grin. Big Brother and the Feng brothers should be at the large drill field behind the snowy ridge. The two then teleported to the snowy ridge drill field and walked around to check. Seeing that the soldiers of the 3 provinces were all training intensely, Qiao Mu nodded inwardly and had someone call Feng Chongqing and his brother over. Where's my big brother? Big brother Mu was here just now. How did he disappear in such a short time? Feng Chongqing looked around in confusion and asked his younger brother. Did you see brother Mu? No, I was with you the whole time just now, Feng Changfei mumbled. Feng Zhangfei muttered. Then, he saw something in the crowd with his sharp eyes and pointed outside. Big brother is over there. Arbor turned to look and saw Mu Xingchen's back facing them, seemingly talking to someone. Arbor quickly walked over. When he got closer, he realized that Big Brother was standing face to face with Xikong Fuling, discussing something. Xikong Fuling's eyes were still moist with tears, and her eyes were a bit red. A strange feeling inexplicably flitted across Arbor's mind. Xikong Fuling and Big Brother? When did they become so familiar? Big Brother. The little stoic creased her brows and sprinted over, tugging at her eldest brother's clothes. Let's go eat. Jojo. Mu Xingchen turned to look at his sister and nodded with a smile. Okay. Xikong Fuling glanced at Arbor and pursed her lips without uttering a word. Mu Xingchen said, Miss Xikong, have you eaten? Do you want to come with us? Arbor stood beside Mu Xingchen. He blinked and looked at his elder brother with a strange expression. Something was really wrong. Big Brother actually took the initiative to invite Xikong Fuling to have a meal together? Xikong Fuling glanced at Arbor and received the threat in that young lady's eyes. You're dead meat if you dare to agree. She snorted and waved her hand. I still have something to do, so I'll take my leave first. At least you know your place. Arbor thought to himself. He turned and tugged at Mu Xingchen. Big Brother, let's go. They circled around to the back of the military field and put some distance between them before Arbor dragged them into the star domain. Mu Xingchen scratched his head. Didn't we just eat casually? Why did we enter the star domain to eat? Duan Yu couldn't help but chuckle. Big Brother, you don't understand. You can't be careless when it comes to eating. Mu Xingchen speechlessly glanced at Duan Yu and said exasperatedly. Fine, fine. It was this older brother who was too careless. Chapter 4579. Arbor instructed Qiuqiu to boil a pot of fresh spirit bamboo shoot mushroom soup, while he took out several dishes, such as 100 Treasures duck, sour fish soup and vinegar sauce, and so on. Let's eat. Looking at the steaming dishes in front of her, a certain someone's appetite was whetted, and she sat down first. Mu Xingchen chuckled. The little fellow placed the dining table under a peach tree, and a fragrant breeze wafted over. Eldest brother, you've been quite busy recently. Eat more. The little stoic warmly picked up several dishes for her elder brother. This moved Mu Xingchen immensely. His starry eyes looked at his younger sister with a gratified expression that said, My younger sister has grown up and knows how to dote on others. Duan Yu secretly rejoiced. Why not? With his understanding of the little fellow, this fellow was so gentle right now, because she definitely had a backup plan waiting for his older brother. Eldest brother, it's all thanks to you, Chongqing, and the others for helping with the collective training to kill the Heavenly Fate battle team. In the future, when we officially join the battle to kill the Heavenly Fate battle team, you guys absolutely have contributed greatly, Mu Xingchen said with a smile. Younger sister, this is what we should do. Feng Chongqing nodded. Everyone has a responsibility to deal with the Heavenly Fate battle team. There's no such thing as contribution. Eldest brother, are you very familiar with Xikong Fuling? Where Mu Xingchen was startled and instantly stopped talking. Weren't they talking about killing the Heavenly Fate battle team just now? Why did the topic change so abruptly? The little stoic expressionlessly took a bite of rice. Xikong Fuling is a very scheming person. You can't tell what she's thinking. Eldest brother, you're simple and easily fooled. Don't be fooled by her. Mu Xingchen was exasperated. Younger sister's earnest and instructive tone of an elder truly made one not know whether to laugh or cry. Younger sister, I'm not too familiar with Miss Xikong. It's just that when everyone landed in the realm of misfortune at the same time, the guardian helped us, so we can't be considered that familiar. Arbor perked up his ears to listen, and the words, I'm a bit curious, were written all over his face. Can you tell me? Eldest brother. Duan Yu truly understood the meaning of the song. Before Arbor could speak, he asked with a grin. And what is the realm of misfortune? Oh, about that, Mu Xingchen didn't realize at all that Duan Ling Tian was trying to get information out of him. As soon as he started talking about his experience in the realm of misfortune, he immediately started talking bitterly. I see. Duan Yu nodded with a grin. In that case, eldest brother, and that Miss Sikong have been through thick and thin. Mu Xingchen waved his hand. It's not that exaggerated. It's just brother-in-law, why are you here? Mu Xingchen suddenly raised his head and cried out in confusion. Xiao Qiao's body stiffened as she followed her brother's gaze. She saw a person fall down from the tree, and with a crash, he appeared in front of her, hanging upside down. Arbor. Husband, you're climbing the roof to tear down the tiles. Can't you climb the tree to be a monkey? Duan Yu's brows twitched as he expressionlessly looked at a certain someone who had suddenly hung down and was swaying back and forth between him and Jojo. This person's head was tilted, and his jet-black hair was disheveled. His sparkling phoenix eyes peered over from the mess of black hair and stared fixedly at the two of them. He looked at Duan Yu, then at Arbor. He looked at Arbor, then at Duan Yu. His expression instantly turned grave. Soon after, he fell down from the tree. Chapter 4580. Arbor hastily reached out to hug him, intending to embrace this flower-like husband. However, this fellow overestimated her own height, so much so that her long-limbed husband covered her head and pressed her down. A certain Xiao was dumbfounded. Mu Xingchen couldn't resist rubbing his forehead. He simply couldn't bear to look at this foolish couple. Mo Lian's falling speed was fast, but the speed at which she was pressing down on him was even faster. Fortunately, he ultimately reached out his hand reflexively and picked up the little stoic. He flew through the air and landed steadily on a giant peach tree that was over 100 feet tall. Arbor returned to her senses and smacked him on the head without another word. What's wrong with you? Why did you run out again instead of cultivating properly? Who knows what you're doing all day long? Do you think you're doing the right thing? Prince Mo looked down at her, his handsome face dumbfounded and expressionless. He looks really stupid, Sir Jojo thought. What were you thinking when you looked at me and Duan Yu earlier? Arbor pinched her husband's cheeks with 2 fingers and pinched them hard. Were you thinking that I'm very familiar with these two people's auras and that I should beat them up? Mo Lian suddenly shook her head. This time, it was Sir Jojo's turn to be dumbfounded. Something wasn't right? How could this fellow still shake her head and express her stance? This was a conscious act. Still want to pretend? Sir Jojo was enraged. She pounced over and hooked his neck before viciously biting his ear. I'll bite you to death, you despicable bastard. You still want to deceive Sir Jojo? You don't freaking have a medium-speed cultivation talisman at all, right? Seeing that she was about to bite him, the Crown Prince suddenly turned his head and very accurately pressed his lips against hers. Screech, they met perfectly. This fellow was simply too adept at this action. This mindset that he had to take a bite out of joy when his wife came up to him was truly deeply ingrained and dangerous. Arbor, what the hell? This guy's movements were as smooth as before he was hit. He didn't need to think at all. Are you faking it or not? Before Arbor could finish speaking, Prince Mo had already scooped him up. His other hand stirred the air in front of them as they swiftly entered the space-time passage, disappearing from Duan Yu, Mu Xingchen, and the other's sight in the blink of an eye. Big brother Xingchen helplessly exchanged a glance with Duan Yu before asking, Do you think we should chase after them? Of course we have to chase after them. Duan Yu hastily ran up without another word. Where did Mo Lian, that swindler, run off to? Qiuqiu. Little ball. Qiuqiu's weak voice traveled over. Crown Prince carried little Masta to Forest Planet? Do you want me to teleport you there? Although the Crown Prince was a little foolish now, his temper was still as arbitrary and tyrannical as before. Should she summon Big Brother and Duan Yu over? In the future, if the Crown Prince found out that it was Qiuqiu who was dragging him down, would he beat Qiuqiu up? Duan Yu said with a grin. If you don't summon me over right now, I'll beat you right now. A section of the little treant cried out, and it immediately felt that its vision was spinning. It turned out that just earlier, it had been pulled up from a branch and forced to the ground. Duan Yu was clearly smiling, but the treant felt that he was sinister, and terrifying. The little treant swayed its pitiful little body as it was carried upside down by him. I'll send you over. He there at Phoenix Spring. Chapter 4581. She didn't expect Duan Yu, this young man, to be so barbaric towards Qiuqiu even though he looked handsome and refined. She thought he was a good person before, but it turned out he was the same kind of person as His Highness the Crown Prince. You, turn Swordsmanship upside down. Upside down. My brain is going to be congested. Do you have blood? Duan Yu couldn't help but laugh, and he reached out to flip him over. The little treant stepped on his arm and whined in protest. Why? Why don't I have blood? I'm not those ordinary plants outside. I still have vital signs, okay? I'm one of the 5 spirits, Holywood. Sir Holywood. Qiuqiu, where did brother-in-law take sister? He's delirious right now, so he wouldn't do anything to sister, right? For example, beating up his sister. That wouldn't do. Even if Emolien, this guy, was delirious, as long as he dared to lay a finger on his sister, he would definitely settle this score. Don't worry, big brother. Qiuqiu pursed his lips solemnly. Crown Prince the Great only wants Masta to accompany him in cultivating. How could he possibly hit Masta? Moreover he dares to attack Masta, unless he doesn't want to live anymore. Qiuqiu harumphed with his hands on his hips. It's at Phoenix Spring. Crown Prince the Great is very good at finding places. But that was right. After being struck by Master's rapid cultivation talisman, the Crown Prince would subconsciously search for a place with dense sacred energy to cultivate. And in the entire star domain, the place with the densest sacred energy should be at Phoenix Spring. With a wave of his hand, Qiuqiu transported everyone to Forest Planet. From afar, they could hear He Chen's exasperated shouting. Emolien, I'm telling you, I'm just too lazy to fight with an idiot like you. Don't think I won't retaliate. It's because I see that you're an idiot and pitiful appearance. Duan Yu and the others had just entered the forest when they saw He Chen flying out. He landed on the ground with a somersault and retreated a dozen steps before steadying himself. He looked back and met Duan Yu's sardonic eyes. He coughed awkwardly. What are you looking at? That guy seems to have been injected with chicken blood. His strength is boundless. Younger sister, younger sister, younger sister. Mu Xingchen's voice suddenly stopped when he saw the scene before him. The Phoenix Spring exuded an extremely dense amount of saint power. And the place where the saint energy was most concentrated was naturally the center of the Phoenix Spring. At this moment, half of Emolien's body was submerged in the Phoenix Spring. Her entire body was shrouded in white mist, making her look hazy. Everyone could only see that fellow's long hair was spread out as he stared at the shore with his dark eyes. Beside Phoenix Spring, the little stoic was currently sitting cross-legged with her back facing them. Her back view looked stiff, and it was actually a bit comical. Sister? Mu Xingchen called out cautiously. Unexpectedly, a low chuckle came from the side. Mu Xingchen turned his head and saw Holy Sun Mi Yin restrain his smile and pretend to be very serious. He said in a deep voice, "Don't shout. She can't move." One of them was half submerged in the Phoenix Spring, while the other was sitting on the shore. Separated by a dense layer of mist, the two of them faced each other, and their eyes met. Hey, why is Jojo still covered in an egg cough defensive barrier? Mu Xingchen was the first to speak, and almost said that it was an eggshell. The corner of He Chen's mouth twitched. The saint energy here is dense. If she stays here for a long time, she naturally won't be able to endure it. Mu Xingchen. Chapter 4582. So brother-in-law was the one who put this eggshell defensive barrier on her? He really was quite considerate. Brother-in-law? You Mu Xingchen cautiously glanced at Emolien. You trapped sister here? Why do I feel like laughing when I see my sister's indignant expression? No, you must hold it in. If you laugh out loud, he'll be done for. Duan Yu curled his lips in amusement. He quickly ran to Arbor and squatted down to face her. Jojo, did that swindler Emolien use her sacred power to seal you inside the defensive barrier? Arbor blinked at him with all her might through the transparent eggshell barrier. Uffed. Duan Yu couldn't hold it in and quickly suppressed his laughter. Do you need my help? A water arrow suddenly shot toward his back. Duan Yu didn't even look, and summoned the raven bone fan from his conscious, blocking most of the water mist with a splash. The remaining small portion splashed all over Mu Xingchen's head, and faced the latter stared at them in bewilderment. What was going on? Why was he the one suffering when these two were fighting? Emolien, I'm telling you, if you attack again I'll beat you up. Duanyu stood up and blocked in front of Jojo. He leisurely straightened out his wrinkled sleeves and glanced at the other side. Emolien jumped onto the shore with a whoosh, her head of fine black hair cascading to her waist. Her pitch-black phoenix eyes glinted coldly as she stared at Duanyu. Duanyu moved his slender legs and shifted his position, continuing to shield Lady Qiao Qiao behind him. He had blocked her completely. Emolien's eyes were enraged, and she abruptly conjured up a gust of wind mixed with dense sacred power. Wait! Duanyu raised his hand to block him and shifted his long legs to the side, releasing Arbor from behind him. That fire spirit ring filled with sacred energy had already reached Duanyu and the others, but it suddenly vanished into thin air. Emolien's chilly eyes stared at Duanyu for a good long while before shifting to her wife. She glanced at her again and again before silently withdrawing her hand. Emolien, look over here. Duanyu called out, once again concealing Arbor's figure. Everyone was speechless. Prince Emo went from being calm, indifferent and expressionless to being on the verge of going berserk. Duanyu dodged with a hearty laugh and squatted next to Arbor. He propped up his chin with one hand and asked with a chuckle, "Do you understand now?" He was the kind of person who could only train in peace when he had Jojo right under his nose. Arbor glared fixedly at Duanyu with her almond-shaped eyes. If she could move right now, she would definitely jump up and pounce on him, bashing Duanyu's head violently. I forgot. Jojo's acupoints have been sealed by Stink Lotus True Energy, so she can't even speak. Duanyu flicked his finger, and a gust of energy rushed into the defensive barrier, unsealing Arbor's sealed acupoints. When the little stoic discovered that she could speak again, she stiffly cursed with a dark face. Didn't you say that as long as I leave the illusion talisman matrix by his side, it can last at least half a day? Hubby was simply crazy. She wasn't a mascot that needed to be placed by his side to urge him to cultivate properly. She was infuriated just thinking about it. She clearly tricked hubby, but she didn't expect that she would be the one tricking herself in the end. Ever since hubby was hit by this speed cultivation curse, Sir Jojo had been on the losing end the entire time. How infuriating. Logically speaking, it should work. Chapter 4583. In reality, it doesn't seem like I can fool him for long. Arbor stood up abruptly and raised her hand to withdraw her defensive barrier. However, this defensive barrier was personally set up by Emolien, so she really couldn't withdraw it with her meager cultivation. Sir Jojo was so angry that he jumped in front of Duanyu and started punching and kicking him through the defensive barrier. Younger sister, calm down, calm down. Mu Xingqian wanted to go up and stop the fight, but he suddenly saw his brother-in-law's icy eyes rolling as his chilly gaze landed on him. Fuck, why did he look like a petrified ghost? His body was filled with an eerie ghostly aura, scaring people to death. Mu Xingqian was so frightened that he couldn't move for the time being. Emolien stepped in front of the little stoic and Duanyu shielding them. Her chilly eyes stared at Duanyu for a split second, but she actually didn't beat him up. Emolien hooked her hand and carried the little stoic back to Phoenix Spring. She placed her on the ground and arranged a cross-legged cultivation posture for her. He was going to enter Phoenix Spring to continue cultivating. Who knew? I haven't finished eating. Arbor roared in exasperation, and the surroundings were instantly silenced by her roar. As it turned out, the reason why the little stoic's back was so stiff and her expression so indignant was all because she hadn't finished eating that meal. Big brother Mu truly couldn't hold it in and snickered. Younger sister, look at brother-in-law's attitude. If you don't stand guard here, he probably won't stop either. I think you should stay here and accompany him for a while. When he slowly recovers, won't you be able to retire with success? Duanyu. The little stoic roared angrily. Duanyu held back his laughter and quickly walked up with a nod. What are your orders, my Qiao? Hurry and remove this barrier. She huffed. If I want to cultivate, I'll cultivate. It's not like I haven't cultivated before. But who would cultivate with a defensive barrier? It was so comical. That won't do. Duan Yu shook his head and put away his playful smile. He said seriously, this place is permeated with holy power. If you absorb too much of it, it won't be good for your body. Stinky Lotus defensive shield can effectively block the saint power. Laugh if you want to. Arbor glared at him. No, Jojo isn't funny at all. Where's the soup? The little stoic mumbled. I'll wait. Duan Yu pursed his lips and reached out to place a steaming pot of spiritual bamboo shoot soup in front of her. The soup is pretty good. I already drank a bowl. Duan Yu handed a pot of soup to the little stoic's defensive barrier with a grin. Do you want a bowl and chopsticks? Everyone was speechless. Compared to Jojo and Emolien, you're the laughable one. One day in the outside world was 12 days in the star field. The little stoic listlessly accompanied her husband in his cultivation. Separated by the defensive barrier, she would eat and drink from time to time. Other than not having the freedom to move around, he was still able to get by. Her husband was expressionless while cultivating. His entire person was immersed in the phoenix spring like a jade sculpture. He looked so cold and exquisite that she really wanted to touch him. The young crown prince consort propped her chin on her hand as her dark eyes darted back and forth. Her gaze would occasionally linger on her husband. Jojo. Duan Yu appeared next to her with a grin while carrying a lunchbox. I can take you out today. Arbor rolled his eyes at him. I'm not lying to you. He waved his hand and removed the defensive barrier on her body. The little stoic immediately jumped up and patted the non-existent dust off her body. Chapter 4584. Arbor looked up at Duan Yu and pursed her lips. Then, she surreptitiously cast a glance in her husband's direction. Don't worry, he's truly sunk into a cultivation state now, so it's very difficult for him to pull himself out like before. Duan Yu said with a smile. Don't worry, he really won't be able to pull himself out of a cultivation state for a while. As expected, her husband didn't react at all. The little stoic was instantly delighted, and she said briskly, since there's an abundance of holy energy circulating around husband, does this mean that he can really stabilize his cultivation realm after this closed-door cultivation? Duan Yu harumphed. He was about to break through to the late-stage divine venerable realm previously. However, a large part of the reason why his cultivation soared so rapidly was due to the ancient seal in his body. Arbor had heard a little about the ancient lotus seal in Emolien's body. Duan Yu said, this ancient seal is a good thing. Unfortunately, if he can't absorb all of it for his own use, he paused and said, if it rejects the holy energy in his body, then it'll be troublesome. Forget it, he knows what he's doing. Duan Yu glanced at the worried little stoic and said with a smile, you still don't believe him? With his abilities, he'll naturally be fine. It's just a matter of time. Moreover, the late-stage divine venerable realm can't be stabilized in 1 or 2 years. Even if he used your strange talisman this time, he probably won't be able to completely stabilize this time. We still have to continue pushing forward. Duan Yu sighed and said, it's not like you don't understand him. With the current situation, he simply can't settle down. Arbor paced back and forth beside Duan Yu until Duan Yu was exasperated. He couldn't resist grabbing her. Alright, stop pacing back and forth. You're making me dizzy. Jojo, don't you still have us no matter what happens? What are you worrying about? Let's go out first and let him cultivate here alone for a period of time. During this time, don't enter the star domain again and let him sense your familiar aura. Otherwise, this guy's brain will go haywire and he'll forcefully pull himself out of his state to see you. Not only will all our previous efforts be wasted, we might even injure ourselves. Arbor quickly nodded and obediently agreed. He obediently left the star domain with Duan Yu. Second sect leader. Arbor looked expressionlessly at Senior Fine Light who was rushing towards her. Second sect master. Where have you been for a day and a night? Why haven't I seen you yet? Second generation sect leader. Let me tell you, I have created a very practical spiritual artifact. If there are enough materials, I can mass produce it. Miguang proudly took out an axe from his back. This spiritual weapon can change into 3 forms: sword, saber, and axe. How about it? Not bad, right? You want to sell to the soldiers of the 3 prefectures. Senior Scattered Light blinked his dog eyes. How is it? The quality is good, right? Arbor nodded. I can help you sell it, but 1/3 of the money will be used for the maintenance of the sect. Duan Yu's mouth twitched. Second sect leader, second sect leader. Who is so stupid to follow me Guang and call me second sect leader? Arbor pondered inwardly as she looked towards the source of the voice. She saw Commandery Princess Wushuang leading a group of people toward her with a grin. Huang He is here. Arbor's eyes involuntarily lit up when she saw the face of the woman beside Commandery Princess Wushuang. Second sect leader. Chapter 4585. Second Generation Sect Master. A rippling cry full of emotion caused Arbor's small body to involuntarily tremble. He looked up and saw Chun Qi and Lu Zheng running over with smiles on their faces. Behind them were more than 20 excited disciples, and they all gathered around with a whoosh. Hurry and greet the Second Generation Sect Master. Chun Qi waved his hand with a chuckle and turned to say to Arbor, Second Generation Sect Master. These are our Xuanji School's first-generation disciples. We've already found 70 to 80 people, and we've more or less found some clues about the remaining ones. Some of them are far away in the holy domain. Just summon them here when the time comes. Some of them are in closed-door cultivation, and probably won't come out in the near future. Lu Zheng nodded repeatedly. There are only 2 disciples, and there's no news of them now. I've asked around, but no one can clearly say where they went. Arbor glanced at the 2 expressionlessly. Pretty efficient. It was indeed pretty good. The little stoic tossed this fraudulent search mission to Chun Qi and Lu Zheng. She originally didn't expect them to be able to find many people. After all, who the hell knew where those first-generation disciples were scattered right now? Besides, it had been so many years. Perhaps a portion of the elders had already ascended to immortality. Who knew? To tell the truth, it was simply like finding a needle in a haystack, and a fantasy to rely on those unreliable nameplates given by Senior Xuanji to find all of them. However, Arbor didn't expect that Chun Qi and Lu Zheng would make such great progress in such a short time with this unreliable lousy mission. Greetings, second-generation sect master. The voices of the 20-something Xuanji school disciples shook the heavens, and everyone appeared very excited. It would be even better if these fools could remove the words second-generation sect master from their titles. The stoic looked at them expressionlessly, her heart completely unperturbed. Second-generation sect master. A middle-aged man strode forward and rubbed his hands, his tone extremely emotional. It's really been hard on you these past few years, second-generation sect master. Arbor said indifferently. It hasn't been hard on me. When that middle-aged man heard this, the rims of his eyes turned red dramatically. With a rueful expression, he said to the little stoic, How can it not be bitter? Just thinking about it tells me that you've been living in poverty these past few years. After all, you have to support the entire Xuanji school by yourself. For so many years, you have been working hard for the revival of our Xuanji school. That's right, that's right. The second sect leader is really noble. He didn't even tell us about his troubles. Admirable, admirable. As expected of our second sect leader. Arbor. Everyone, do you have any misunderstandings about me? Lord Xiao has only taken over the Xuanji sect for a short period of time. Over the past few days, I've only chosen a location for the Xuanji sect and erected the mountain gate of the Xuanji sect. Other than that, wasn't she completely a hands-off boss? At this moment, Huang He walked up and nodded his head in praise. He had a deeply moved expression on his face. You guys are absolutely right. Our Qiao Qiao is of noble character and unquestionable integrity. She is the role model of the world. Huang He spoke without end. Arbor only wanted to cover his face with his hands. Back then, when I met her before we even met, Jojo was high-spirited and vigorous. She disregarded the danger to her life and lured away a high-level spirit beast for us, leading away a large beast tide. Sigh, I can't bear to look back on the past. Back then, Jojo was very different from others. Big sis, can you not talk about how you met back then? Chapter 4586. You might not believe it. Back when they were training in the lava mountain range, didn't they attract the beast tide to trick people? After that, the little fat squirrel took advantage of every opportunity to clean up the battlefield, not even leaving behind a single spirit beast tooth for them. The words noble character and unquestionable integrity truly aren't suitable for this Lord Xiao. Huang He was still rambling on. The more Chen Qi, Lu Zheng, and the other Xuanji sect disciples listened, the more moved they were. They completely didn't notice that Duan Yu, He Chun, and the others were twitching their mouths. The more serious Jojo appeared on the surface, the more his heart crumbled. According to their understanding of this little thing, she simply wouldn't be so kind-hearted as to lure away the beast tide or whatever. Perhaps this little fellow was using the beast tide to trick people. Judging from her serious expression, she probably wanted to slap Huang He to death and yell at her to shut up while she was at it. Shut up, Huang He. Don't make wild guesses about this Lord Xiao. You freaking constructed a lofty and imposing image of me in your heart. But in reality, that's not the case at all. Moreover, she remembered that she seemed to have explained the lava mountain range incident to Huang He. Unexpectedly, Fairy Huang He was even more moved. She held her hand and wished for nothing more than to burst into tears, and kept praising her for her kindness. She kept insisting that it was Jojo who saved them, and was their great benefactor, and so on. Seeing that she couldn't communicate with this fellow, Arbor simply didn't mention it in the end. She didn't expect this fellow to bring up this hilarious incident again today. She already told her that the truth wasn't so. This fellow was living in a dream. Enough! Arbor pulled a long face and quickly interrupted Huang He's unceasing praises. Huang He, you came at the right time. How many people from the Heavenly Pill Guild did you bring this time? Those who can come are all here. Huang He immediately changed her attitude and restrained her smile when they talked about serious matters. Wang Yan, Gadapeng, and Little Chow are all here. There are also several Earth-grade alchemists waiting for Jojo's instructions at any time. Arbor nodded in satisfaction. This time, we need to create a batch of nutritious liquid called the Fine Sky Jade Dragon Pill. I will provide the formula and guiding herbs when the time comes. You just need to make as many as you can. No problem. Fairy Yellow Crane nodded heavily and said, we can start refining pills right away. Arbor coughed lightly, grabbed Fairy Yellow Crane's small hand, and patted it twice, saying, do I look like such an unreasonable person? You've just arrived on the island, and must be tired from the long journey. How about this? Have a good rest tonight, and come see me tomorrow morning. Let me demonstrate the refining method of the Jasper Sky Jade Dragon Dan. Yellow Crane Fairy was so touched that she held Arbor's hands and shook them vigorously. Jojo, you're so nice. Are you going to demonstrate to me again? Good, good, good. I knew this trip wouldn't be in vain. I love watching you refine pills the most. Watching you refine pills is a kind of enjoyment. The several Earth-grade alchemy grandmasters looked at Fairy Yellow Crane with speechless faces. Yellow Crane was good at everything. She was approachable, lively, and cheerful. It was just that sometimes her brain might not work too well. Everyone didn't know whether to laugh or cry when they saw her like this. This appearance of meeting the second-generation sect master of the Xuanji sect was like a brainless fan. They didn't know what was going on. Arbor coughed and drew back his small hand expressionlessly, patting Yellow Crane's shoulder. Chapter 4587. She said earnestly, refine well. Practice makes perfect. As long as your pill refinement speed and success rate increase, it will only be a matter of time before you improve your pill refinement skills. Yes. Huang He quickly cupped his hands. Everyone. They felt that Huang He, this child, had been tricked by Jojo ever since he was born. After Arbor finished talking with Huang He, she looked at Chen Qi and Lu Zheng. I'm very happy that you guys could come. Everyone thought at the same time. The little sect master's expression really doesn't look happy. You guys can settle down on the island for the time being. Oh right, do you still remember Hao Guang? Why did Senior Hao Guang run away? Arbor belatedly realized that Hao Guang had slipped away at some point. Second sect master, we can go find him ourselves. Chen Qi chuckled mischievously. The middle-aged man from before ground his teeth and harumphed. I didn't expect to see Hao Guang in my lifetime. Looks like he's been doing quite well recently. He really is an irresponsible guy, another person said sarcastically. Arbor looked up at the sky and inexplicably felt a gust of gloomy wind blow past her face. Could it be that seniors Qin Shi and Lu Zheng had some old grudge with Hao Guang? Jojo loved to listen to gossip the most, so her stoic face was immediately replaced by a curious expression. You guys? What special matters do you have with Senior Hao Guang? Qin Shi cupped his hands at her. We have a deep grudge with him. Second sect master, let's talk later. We'll go find that old punk first. Xiaomu became even more curious when she saw him run off with his men after saying half of what he wanted to say. She took out a small butterfly and flicked her fingers. Follow them and take a look. Don't let them beat Senior Hao Guang to death. Senior Hao Guang was a great help to her. She was still waiting for him to refine flying artifacts in batches. Huang He and the others can refine mini pills for killing the heavenly seer now that they're here. Duan Yu nodded and said, the dozen or so pharmacists we've gathered will probably arrive in 2 days. At that time, the speed of refining Jewel Sky Jade Dragon pills should be much faster. When will the people from the underworld region arrive? Arbor's face tightened, and he waved to a disciple of the Tianyin battle squad beside him. Go back and ask that person. I want an accurate reply. Yes. Consuming the Jasper Heaven Jade Dragon pill would definitely allow their strength to rise by a level in a short period of time. The most important thing was that after consuming the Jewel Heaven Jade Dragon pill, it did not end right away after upgrading. Its little bit of medicinal power could only be used in the body for 1 to 3 months. In the future, when he cultivated, he could clearly feel that his absorption speed had increased, his meridians had widened and so on. It was a feeling that could not be described in words. Getting twice the result with half the effort was naturally an extremely good thing. While they were talking, a Zhangzhou guard quickly ran over and saluted. Reporting to your majesty, a few commoners have been fished up from the northwestern shore. They seem to still be breathing. Duan Yu turned to glance at Arbor. I'll go take a look. Arbor followed him. Let's go together. Their deserted island, which neighbored the sacred land of the Snowy Ridge, was covered in snow all year round, and was uninhabited. Suddenly, several people without any cultivation drifted over from the sea. Don't you think it's strange? Not being able to tell was the strangest thing. Under the Zhangzhou guard's lead, the group arrived at the northwestern shore. Sure enough, they saw several upright figures lying on the snowy ground. Chapter 4588. Several Tsang province guards who were patrolling the northwest shore all turned their heads and respectfully bowed to them. Duan Yu waved his hand, indicating that they didn't need to stand on ceremony, and strode forward. Arbor, Mu Xingchen, and the others also followed, their gazes seemingly landing on the commoners by the shore. They saw that those people were all wearing coarse hemp garments, their complexions emaciated, and their bodies emaciated. They had soaked in the seawater for too long, so their bodies were blue from the cold, and their lips were also a bit purple. Arbor glanced at them, before taking out a small packet of medicinal powder from his sleeve, and handing it to a Zhangzhou guard beside him. Boil it in warm water, and feed each of them a mouthful. A packet of dispelling cold powder was enough to recover these people's chilled bodies. However, this kind of recovery only treated the symptoms, and not the root cause. These people looked like they were malnourished, so they couldn't recover in a day. Now they could only wake them up for the time being, before asking them what was going on. A moment later, those people indeed slowly regained consciousness under the effects of the dispelling cold powder. When they clearly saw Arbor, Duan Yu, and the others standing in front of them, the commoners, who were muddle-headed from soaking in the seawater, hastily knelt and begged for mercy, repeatedly shouting, "No, don't, sirs, don't kill us, don't." Arbor's gaze landed on a young man, with a very sallow complexion and sunken eye sockets. "Tell us, where did you come from? Why did you drift to our snowy island?" That man trembled non-stop and kowtowed in trepidation as he begged for mercy. "Miss, spare us, spare us. We are villagers from a small fishing village outside the River of Forgetfulness. Because the harvest this year was poor, ghostly monsters started appearing in the village. They stood stiffly, jumped, and bit people. As a result, those who could run all ran out. As for the remaining people, they were about to starve to death, so they had no choice but to follow the fireworm troop out to run boats. We didn't do anything bad. We really didn't do anything bad. The man said with tears in his eyes. We were originally ordinary people from a fishing village, but because our lives were hard, and we couldn't survive anymore, we followed others to run boats. We wanted to earn a few spirit coins, so that we could exchange them for food. Jojo blinked. What's the Fireworm Squad? I heard that they are the most famous pirate team in the region of the Forgotten River. They always like to take advantage of the time when the sky is about to turn dark, to come out with their pirate ships to rob and intercept the nearby merchant ships. At one time, he was extremely savage, Duan Yu said in a low voice. However, because they intercepted the Morning Sunlight Pavilion's fleet from the Great Shang of the Divine Province, they were counterattacked once by the Morning Sunlight Pavilion, and their vitality seemed to be greatly damaged. I didn't expect them to move out again after a few days of peace. Arbor replied with an, "Oh," and looked at the shivering people with an indifferent expression. Since you joined the pirate group, why did you end up in the sea? The young man shuddered as if he recalled a terrifying incident. B-Boss disliked us for being a hindrance and didn't do our jobs well, so he threw us into the sea to feed the fish. Then you guys are really amazing. Arbor looked at them meaningfully. This sea is densely filled with zombie fish, yet you normal people could actually drift here unscathed, and just happen to encounter us. Jojo. Duan Yu's entire body suddenly tensed, as if he sensed an extreme danger, and he pulled Arbor to his side. Chapter 4589. At the same time, that young man with the sallow complexion and sunken eye sockets suddenly shuddered and abruptly exploded. The loud boom was accompanied by a pungent and unpleasant smell. The air was instantly filled with a putrid stench, and the patter of yellow powder drifted toward everyone like a continuous drizzle. Duan Yu flicked his sleeve to disperse a cyclone in front of him, and pulled the little stoic behind him, before coldly gazing over. They dodged in time, and their movements were extremely swift. By the time Duan Yu spoke, Ma Jiechen Miyan and Feng Chongqing had already set up a defensive barrier. They finally managed to dodge the attack without mishap, and kept the drifting yellow powder 3 feet away. Arbor poked his head out from behind Duan Yu, and expressionlessly raised his hand. The blue spiritual cleansing fire burned over, but everyone clearly saw that the yellow powder continued to multiply under the blue spiritual cleansing fire. There were still hundreds to thousands of floating yellow powder floating in the air, and they could be clearly seen with the naked eye. Xiaomu made a prompt decision, and took out the Realm of Misfortune. With a casual swipe of her hand, she absorbed all of the yellow powder inside. Only then did everyone heave a sigh of relief, but the expression on their faces was not relaxed at all. 8 layers of the blue spiritual cleansing fire actually can't extinguish these yellow particles, Duan Yu said gravely. We have no idea what these things are. The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal nodded. It looks like the Heavenly Fortune has come up with a new trick again. Everyone looked over, and saw that the people they fished up from the sea were all smashed to pieces, and couldn't be more dead. Arbor's expression was grave, and a trace of chilliness hung on his face. He flicked out the Heart of Misfortune, and that pitch-black bead with an inky luster slowly rose up. It emitted a myriad of black lights that slowly condensed into a black light screen in the air. The light screen rippled, and the myriad of black lights gently undulated like water ripples. The scene in the Realm of Misfortune was like an unfurled painting that slowly flowed down. Shadows appeared on the black light screen, moving slowly along with the running of the human figures. Everyone looked over. On the screen, several disciples of the City of Shadows were running madly on a vast expanse of land. Every one of them was covered in dirt, and their bodies were covered in wounds. Their complexions were sallow and emaciated, and they were in a sorry state. It was obvious that he had been tortured to death in the Realm of Misfortune, and was on the verge of death. Speaking of which, There were about 20 to 30 City of Shadows disciples who were captured and sent to the heart of misfortune. However, after this period of tempering, the realm of misfortune had completely shattered their hopes in life. The remaining few should be the strongest disciples in the City of Shadows. They had lived the longest and fought for their lives the longest. However, after being tempered by thousands of killings in the realm of misfortune, no matter how strong a person's will was, their willpower would be almost completely worn out. Arbor remained silent as he stared at the City of Shadows disciples, who were forced to run forward by the dark yellow particles. Hand over a strand of your life soul and submit to me. A City of Shadows disciple looked up at the sky like a startled bird. Who are you? The remaining 5 City of Shadows disciples didn't waste any words and directly handed over a strand of their life souls. They gritted their teeth and continued running forward. Arbor raised her hand, and the 5 strands of life souls immediately flew into her palm. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.